Well. Hello, everybody. I am attorney Michael Ehline, and I am doing my show a little bit early today because I have to work on some briefs later. So I thought I'd try to do a little marathon for you. And I found a bunch of really good material on public servants gone wild. But I want to start out by saying thanks, everybody, for joining the channel today. I know it's a different time than I normally come. How's it going, Jeff? And if you've been following my channel, you probably know the thought police have really been hammering me because I speak out on topics like unlawful censorship of speech, which the thought police have basically classified anything that you say that the deep state or the administrative state disagrees with as hate speech. And so we're going to get into that a little bit. And it's a really interesting topic because so many people have been brainwashed through the public education system and the college system to think that so-called hate speech is illegal, and therefore people who engage in this so-called hate speech should be silenced. And this has been something that Twitter really started this trend, Twitter with their San Francisco values. And of course, we heard the administrative state and the politicians say, oh, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want. They can say whatever they want, right? But as soon as Elon Musk got hold of Twitter and converted it over to X, now they're saying the exact opposite, that it's hate speech. They need to be silenced. And it's because he supports a different political message and he allows people to say what they want to say. And before that, if you said the things that most people want to say on Twitter, you would have had your account banned instantly. In fact, people who spoke out about the Hunter Biden laptop, they were silenced and censored, even though now we know that it was real, but several so-called retired administrative agents for the CIA, for example, like 40 of them came out and basically were untruthful and said to the American people that it had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. And then we found out with the release of the Twitter files that in fact there is a revolving door employment scheme between Silicon Valley and agencies like the CIA and the FBI. And they basically try and use all of them together in unison, try to use all of their different companies, public-private partnership, this Leviathan, this administrative state Leviathan, to silence the other party. And so because I'm a libertarian and I believe in maximum speech and maximum freedom, and I don't support either political party, I am a classical liberal, but unfortunately, the modern day liberal has become basically the Orwellian state, basically. And you'll see in some of the videos where I point that out, where they're speaking out about we need to silence people if they disagree with our narrative, and only they get to decide what truth is, what falsity is. And of course, all their fact checkers are being paid for by people like Zuckerberg, who supports obviously the administrative state. And then in turn, if he hires their agents and employees, just like the CDC and the FDA go back and forth with the pharmaceutical companies, they're in a position, in my opinion, to be able to shape policy. And so because of that, I've already been censored for 7 days. And I do believe that YouTube is censoring my channel now. So first thing I want to do is say, anybody in the sidebar, by the way, thanks a lot. Thanks, Ralph, for showing up, brother. Anybody in the sidebar, first of all, I'm going to be showing a lot of videos today. So I need you to type into the sidebar. And I got this from Chili De Castro. I really love the guy. I want you to type in, "This is a reaction video," in the sidebar for me, because they're hammering people like me so hard. Any tiny infraction they could come up with, they're trying to get you on. And then the next thing is I've noticed, Chili and I both, people are being blocked from liking and commenting on our shorts. So it really affects the algorithm. So I'm asking anybody in my show today to please check out my shorts, even if you don't do it right now, but all the short videos, click on all of them. I mean, as many as you can, and like them and comment on them to make sure, and give me feedback, please, through my private channels on like the michaelehline.com website, for example, if you're able to do it. Because I believe that's a violation of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act for me to be targeted for simply engaging in free speech, especially when these companies get certain privileges and immunities under Section 230. as long as they don't interfere with my speech. But as soon as they do interfere with my speech, I believe that that is a violation of Section 230. So I would like to hear from you about that. And I've also done some videos on Section 230. If you go to my channel and type in Section 230 Jason FYK. And by the way, Ralph, it's good seeing you, bro. I'm super happy that you showed up today. And type in the name of that case, by the way, in the sidebar, so my audience can also look it up, the one you were texted me this morning. By the way, guys, I don't know if a lot of you know this, but I try to develop friendships with the people that come on my show. I work about 18 hours a day. I'm up at like 03, 0400. I work all the time. So the weekends are really the only time I have to get caught up with all my friends. But basically, the thought police have really hit my channel hard. So I guess now, even if a video has a cuss word or something, YouTube will try to demonetize you and give you a copyright strike. So we're looking into Patreon and Rumble as an alternative form of media. It's basically become so absurd now on YouTube that you really can't say anything that really has any substance that could help form or shape public opinion or educate people. And as a lawyer, it's my job to try, my job as a lawyer, I believe, is to try and educate the public as an officer of the court and basically a servant of the people, because I was given this privilege to be a lawyer, to educate you and help you learn how to think critically. Critical thinking is what my show is about. And so I have done quite a few police audit videos, cop watch videos, but my position is that the police are merely puppets in mimicking the administrative state agents who command them and rule over them. And so I like to expose corrupt politicians, whatever political party they might be on, to expose why the police are behaving this way. And for all you police, I kind of feel bad for you, because the administrative state, the politicians, you're the first person that they'll throw under the bus when you're enforcing their directives and their policies. So I'm still confused why you would want to have a job like that, where you're enforcing corrupt laws and corrupt policies oftentimes, and then you get thrown under the bus. And hopefully you guys can hear me well. I want to say hi to my audience. Age Go, Jeff, Cops are 5150. You guys are awesome, man. And Mama Lion, thanks for showing up. And you're right. Ralph Riley says, I like exposing the whole corrupt system. And that's right. And so I do focus on cops and cop watching, because that's how Chili and I met. But I go a little bit deeper, and I really like to get into the state actor theory and the administrative agency instrumentalities theories, where we basically have these public-private partnerships that are unlawful and illegal under our Constitution and violate the Fourth Amendment in particular. And so I like to expose that so people can understand what's really going on. I mean, when you have a revolving door employment scheme where the director of an agency like the CDC also ends up becoming the head of a big corporation that sells things to treat things, to me, that shows bias, and it shows that a lack of trustworthiness. Because if somebody is working in a private company and then they get a job working for government and they go back to that private company that donates money to the same politicians that appointed them, to me, that is totally corrupt, and that needs to be exposed. And so ultimately, we'll probably move the channel over to Patreon or Rumble, because they're the only channels right now, I think, that actually still allow a semblance of freedom for people to actually expose corruption. It seems like the only corruption channels like this are allowing are if it goes against Donald Trump, pretty much. But if it's anyone else, like his political opposition, they want to lock you down and they want to censor you. And so that kind of proves, although they're making a martyr out of me, it doesn't do a whole lot for me to be able to help you. So as a result, I have to be very careful about what I say, guys. But we'll start the show off really quick. My normal, hold on, let me get this going here. We're going to kick it off the normal way I do with my little intro video, and then we'll get into the show. To another edition of Ask Michael Ehline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. That's right. And make sure to hit that like button. But on this, because I like to stream vertically for people that use handhelds, because that tends to get the younger crowd. Double tap the screen, and that's going to give me some likes. So what's going on, guys, is what we just learned recently is that YouTube is using a new AI program, and it's very good at censoring and shadow banning and basically shutting down the traffic that you get to your stream. So basically, if they don't like you, they have backdoor ways to blacklist and graylist your channel and make it not successful based upon what I've read. Obviously, I can't make an affirmative statement like that because I might get censored for misinformation, right? So I just want you guys to understand that that now more than ever, it's really important for you to save my videos and share them with your friends and family, because there's going to be a time when the thought police do shut down this channel. I can see it on the horizon. They're looking for any type of minor pretextual infraction to hurt the channel, which in effect is going to hurt my audience. But I'm going to get into my first video of the day as soon as I share this with you, because I want to get into what I'm all about right now, guys. So we have 4 boxes with which to defend our freedom. All right. And I went into this a little bit the other day, but this is what our founding fathers wanted for us. And it's what they bestowed upon us that our creator already granted us, but they put it in writing and bound our public servants with the chains of the Constitution. And the very first box is the soapbox, and that represents your ability to petition the government for redress of grievances, as well as freedom of association, freedom of speech, holding public servants accountable, and many other things. But the primary thing that I want to get into is holding public servants accountable, government accountability operations. And then the second box would be the ballot box. And obviously, we know that at least 1/2 of our population doesn't trust this system anymore. I mean, obviously, we've seen the letter carriers union who delivers the votes has endorsed Kamala Harris, and a lot of people are complaining about that. And so people have called me and actually said, hey, can we sue to stop them from doing that, because it shows implicit bias, right? Like, how can we trust these same people? Because the Republicans have always wanted to shut down the post office, right? So, if you're trying to keep your job, there's a lot going on there that I can't talk about anymore on this channel without risking getting my channel shut down. But hopefully you'll understand where I'm coming from. And it's just other people, clients in particular of mine, who have expressed these concerns. So the ballot box doesn't always work anymore, a lot of people are saying. And then the next box is the jury box. And yesterday I went into jury nullification, which we know the administrative state tries to conceal from the American people, that we do have an unalienable right to nullify bad laws. And so if you get an opportunity to take a look at the video I did yesterday, the live that I did, it's a 2-hour video, but it's really good. And it goes into the constitutional reasons and what John Jay said about jury nullification. And basically what that means is nullifying. So even if somebody might be guilty under this law, which is a BS law, that it should not be upheld by the jury out of good conscience, because the jury is the conscience of the people. Give me a bunch of ones if you understand what I'm talking about. The jury is the conscience of the people. And then the last box is what I believe the most important box, which holds the government accountable, and that would be the cartridge box. And that's the Second Amendment. And, you can't even talk about anymore on this channel, pretty much firearms or the right of self-defense. And we know that one party is always trying to ban or restrict our ability to have enough rounds in our magazines to defend ourselves, et cetera, et cetera. So there's going to be a time where the globalists, who all are on the same page, they're trying to flood the countries with illegal aliens and peasants and people who don't take the proper testing to see if they're even like good citizens, and just flooding the country. And they can now use these illegals to use the census data to change the electoral college. And we know that the departments of motor vehicles, are giving them licenses. And we've heard allegations from congressmen and senators that they're being registered to vote. And we know that New York and other states are allowing illegal aliens to vote in local elections. And so a lot of my clients are saying, wait a minute, Mike, this is really bad, because local elections are held at the same time as federal elections, and you typically get the same ballot, which means all the federal officers are going to be on there as well. And since these people that are newcomers to our country aren't being told that it's a federal crime, it appears as though they could be voting according to many congressmen and senators and in hearings that I've seen. So that's something that we need to be concerned about as well. And so what I'm seeing with a lot of my clients is that they believe that this is very unfair. And so at least half of the population appears to feel disenfranchised. And of course, the other half that has this working in their favor call us conspiracy theorists and weirdos and wackos and gaslight us. And so that's kind of where we're at. So, hopefully I won't get timed out or banned for sharing this information with you guys by the thought police. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off with my first video today. And this is, so CJ Grisham, this guy, I think he's a true patriot, and he's former military like me. So that, obviously, that makes me like him a lot. Let me see if I can get this sucker to share. Crying out loud. Hold on a minute, guys. Look, I'm still not the best at this. So let me go ahead and do a share screen. Let me see if this does it. Hopefully I can. All right. Let's make sure we can see everything. All right. So it looks like we got about 70 people in the stream. And guys, just so you know, I didn't realize that Chili was going to have a live today. And so probably I know that a lot of his people will generally come to my channel, and I'm not expecting that. I just didn't have any other time to do a show today. But this show will be a little bit different than what he's doing. So I encourage you to go back and forth. Or if you have two computers, go ahead and get on his show and stay on mine as well, so we can get some love from everybody. Because I'm not a jealous guy. I want us all to be successful and get the word out, which is government accountability. Right, Ralph? Right? Government accountability is what it's all about, brother. And I really do appreciate Ralph showing up, and Michelle. Hey, you don't have to apologize, Michelle. And I know you don't flatter people, or Michelle, but it's okay to flatter me because I need it, because I don't get a whole lot of attention here at home. I'm basically a beast of burden, and my duty is just to provide for my family, and I don't really get a lot out. That's just what's expected of me. So anytime I get some compliments from an outsider, it's always appreciated. So anyways, CJ Grisham, and by the way, I really appreciate everybody, and anybody who can afford to give me a super like. Oh, and I'll get into my little spiel on my book, a super chat or a coffee or whatever. Even if it's $2, it's greatly appreciated, because I'm able to run back to my sergeant major, my wife, and say, hey, look, I made $10 today. So, she'll be like, well, okay, I guess, because if I was working on a file, I could potentially make several $1,000s. But at the same token, I was blessed with a high IQ and the ability to recall things and memorize case law. And because of that, and critically think. And because of that, I feel it's my duty to help other people learn how to be critical thinkers as well. So before I get into the show, I just want to let you know that I have a digital version of this book, and I'm going to put it on the big screen for you. My journey to becoming a practicing lawyer with no undergrad or law degree. And the problem is this particular book, if I was to publish this, and with the cost of shipping and everything, it'd be about $40 or something. And if it was hardcover, it would be more. But you can go to, and somebody can possibly share the link for me. If you can go to my YouTube channel and just open up the description and scroll down, you'll see a PayPal link. For $19.99, you can get this book. And this shares with you my journey of being a business owner, a small business owner, being top in health club sales, being a corporate wellness director for Bally's Total Fitness, having a limousine business and being Rodney Dangerfield's chauffeur, and owning a construction business, and ultimately selling my limousine company and putting that money aside and sleeping on park benches and sleeping on the ground in Venice Beach and working for lawyers for free so I could become a lawyer on the law office study program. And so it tells you my journey, and it's an inspiring message, because I'm trying to teach people that you can have everything in life that you want if you can help other people get what they want, and forming parallel systems so you can work outside the administrative leviathan and form friendships with people who don't want to have the government control every aspect of their lives. Because I believe there are two types of people in this world. those who want to be controlled and those who don't. And I believe that the people that come on my channel do not want to be controlled. And of course, you're the enemies of the World Economic Forum and the people, these billionaires who want to put you in 15-minute cities and control every aspect of your life, decide what you can eat, decide what you have to take in order to protect yourself or put into your body. And I just disagree with that. I believe that we were all born with unalienable individual rights that were granted by a creator, like our Constitution, like our Declaration of Independence says, which is incorporated by reference into our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with me. Now, all right, man, Bill Boberts hooked me up with a super chat. So Bill Boberts, I honestly, I think this is the first time I've ever seen you on my show, Bill. Maybe you've been following me. It's hard for me sometimes to go back and forth, but everybody, please make sure to like and subscribe to Bill Boberts' channel and give him some love. Give me a bunch of ones for Bill for supporting my family to make it possible for me to bring you this exciting message of freedom and self-reliance today. So please make sure to support Bill Boberts. And Diesel, We the People News, thanks for showing up. Thanks, Jeff. Right on Race Gas. And Race Gas is into race cars, obviously. And of course, my dad always said, put a Chevy in it. But he always said, and I used to build race engines with my dad. And the deal was back when I was doing this, because people couldn't afford Mopar, right? That was the heavy duty stuff. Only the rich kids got that. So we would build, and my dad would build everything with Chevys. And that was back when they were using 327s, right, guys? And then what would happen is my dad said, but you got to put a Ford rear end because the Ford rear ends are better. So that's kind of how it was. And back then they had, I think they were called Hydra shifters or turbo shifters if you didn't want to use a manual. But my dad always said you were a PU, you know what, 2 S's and a Y if you couldn't use a manual transmission. Give me a bunch of ones if you old codgers know what I'm talking about. You got to know how to use a manual transmission. That was what it was all about. And I blew out my fair share of transmissions, that's for sure. Blew out my fair share of trannies, and not by today's modern definition of tranny. So yeah, man, Mama Lion, I'm loving having you here. And Just Willie, you guys are my loyal guys now. I've got like about 60 or 70 super loyal people who try to show up. And that really means a lot to me, because they say that less than 3% of the American population actually participated in the fighting during the American Revolution. And that's where the term 3%er came from. And of course, we know that the Anti-Defamation League and Southern Poverty Law Center, they try to say that anybody who uses that term is a racist, bigot, and a homophobe, like they do anybody who goes against what their belief system is, which I believe is total 1000% control over your thoughts and your life. That's what they really want. They want to silence you and they want to control you. And if you disagree with them, they want to call you a racist, bigot, or a homophobe. And we see now with Soros and his prosecutors and the tons of money that he's infused into local elections, that our city councils have become, in my opinion, empaneled with radical left-wing extremists who hate this country. And we're going to go into some videos today that actually expose that, in my opinion, that are going to show that. And so the CJ, I think his name is CJ Grisham, he is a true patriot, in my opinion. And let me just see if I can get him up on the screen here. Let me see if I got it. Okay. And so this guy, I believe he's a Texas lawyer, and I'm also licensed in Texas, but I do personal injury law to pay my bills. And I'm licensed in Texas and California, and I'm an ambulance chaser pretty much. But my background originally was I worked for the city attorney. I did criminal. I opposed the 1538.5 motions to suppress, where I learned a lot about how the system worked. And then I did criminal defense, and I still do some criminal defense, but not too much, because it just doesn't pay the bills. I have to spend my whole day in court, and it's just not enough to pay my family, and it's not enough to allow me to be close to my children so I can homeschool them. And that's the idea, right? You want to keep your kids, like Malcolm X said, why would you ever let your enemies educate your children? Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with Malcolm X that you should never let your enemies educate your children. So because of that, I found other ways to do litigation from my office, bring my kids to the office, homeschool them, try to work from home whenever. And so that's kind of why I fell into the personal injury thing. But I also do appellate work, and I do freelance work comp work to help people who've been injured at work, doing stuff like that, or defend employers who have been wrongly had claims filed against them, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I do, just for people who are new to my channel. I try to be real civil. I try not to engage in ad hominem attacks against people. I just don't believe, because I believe that, we're all God's children, and that even a bad cop can be turned to the light side of the force with proper civility, because I believe that cognitive dissonance, because we're all born knowing right from wrong in our hearts. I do believe that. I believe that cognitive dissonance, and with a little bit of counseling and a little bit of intervention by people who care, like me, that we can turn people from the dark side of the force to the light side. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. Now, oh my God, Roger Lane, you are so awesome, man. And look, that really means a lot to me, brother, because I've been running a huge deficit doing these shows. And so any little bit helps. And again, for anybody who wants to go to my YouTube description, and I have a digital version of this ebook where I talk about the different states that offer law study programs where you don't have to have an undergrad or law school, or you just have to have a little bit of training. And I go over my experience on the California State Bar Law Office Study Program and how I did it and how I was able to find lawyers who would train me. And I'll be honest with you guys, I was willing to pay these lawyers to teach me. Okay. And that's a problem that I have with the modern Marxist education system. They're teaching kids that if you volunteer to work for someone, they should pay you. Well, that's not a volunteer anymore. I believe in the old system where you were mentored, like through the Inns of Court, or like if you were a knight, the knight would have a squire, and the squire would work for free. So the squire could learn how to become a knight, and the squire would carry the shield and the lance and clean up after the knight, and the same with the Inns of Court. And in fact, the first places that housed lawyers under our English common law system was actually the Knights Templars. The Knights Templars were the very first organization. When the king kicked out all the lawyers from London, they were housed beyond the bar in the Temple Inn. And so esquires like me, or I guess you would call us, what would be the name? I forgot the name. I'm starting to sound like Sleepy Joe. But the people that worked underneath the lawyers, like a squire, would be mentored. So I'd be like a mentee, and they would sweep up the law office. They would follow the lawyer around. They would carry the lawyer's books, attend court, and learn how to be a lawyer by doing, not from sitting in a law school being brainwashed by someone who's probably a far left Marxist, which is what our law schools are now today, in my opinion. So I believe that you get a much more solid education by doing, rather than listening to someone and learning black letter law out of a book, which you also still have to do in the program that I was on. And I was able to try 3 cases to the jury as a certified law student. And I did tons of depositions. In my career as a lawyer, I've done thousands of depositions. So I'm an expert at the rules of evidence, civil and criminal. And that's sort of how I shaped myself as a lawyer. So thank you again, Roger, for that. And again, everybody who throws me a super chat or buys my book, I'll always make sure to put your comments at the front of the line, because it really shows that you appreciate me and my family, and the fact that my wife and kids are sharing me with you so you can learn and become educated in critical thinking. So this next video that I'm going to show you is CJ Grisham. I think that's his name. Man, I really love to have him on my show, but he helped Carolina in Fort Worth when she got body slammed by that corrupt police officer, because she was simply filming and asking questions about why are the police enforcing tickets in a private parking lot. And she was just curious about that. And so she got body slammed, and she suffered a brain injury, and she's a good woman. And I was really, really upset about that. So anytime that I can support Grisham, I'm going to do it. So in this particular video, this is, I believe, one of his clients, and this is a town hall meeting. And this is the problem, guys. There is a war against the First Amendment by the administrative state and by these people who are brainwashed in these leftist education institutions to think that anything that they disagree with is hate speech and that you need to be silenced. And I'm going to show you a bunch of examples, but let's get started with this first one.
Chief Blanchard, you piece of Chief Blanchard, Like every other citizen, Jason Followell was given 3 minutes to make his statement. But before that, Mayor Ramiro Gomez made his rules clear.
During council meetings, members of the public shall not engage in shouting, unruly behavior, defamation, personal affronts, profanity, or threats of any kind.
Okay, so just really quick, guys, I want to lay something out there for you. So you're not allowed to talk loud. You're not allowed to engage in any kind of profanity or anything that basically they disagree with. Did you kind of understand that? Give me a bunch of ones if you understood what he just said, because what he just said is absolutely a violation of the First Amendment to my beloved Constitution, to my Bill of Rights, which was granted to us by our Creator. It's a vague and ambiguous rule that allows him to pretextually decide who can speak and who doesn't. I want you guys to understand that. You can have reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions on speech in public forums, but they're like limited public forums, like school meetings are limited public forums, but this is a city council meeting. So you should have more free speech, in my opinion, in these city council meetings. And of course, each jurisdiction is going to be different, but there has to be a rule that's understandable. So there are different canons of law, and this would be in violation of the canon that goes against absurdity, the canons of absurdity. And you can Google this in your spare time, but this rule would be a violation of what I think is the canons of absurdity. So, because it's absurd to be able to allow someone who's an elected official, who's a public servant, to be able to decide if you say something bad about them, or maybe you use vernacular they don't like they're doing on YouTube right now. If you say the F word or something, they're trying to ban your channel. I mean, since when is that a problem? It's free speech, guys. But anyways, let's go.
I'm talking. It's my turn to talk.
Personal attack once again, Mayor.
Please, will you? I don't give a crap what you say. Okay, now
There it is again.
City Council felt personally attacked after hearing Followell curse at them multiple times. And just as Followell was escorted.
Okay, so you guys see that? Look at those guys. Oh my gosh, let me go back. Sorry about that. I shared the video. Look, I'm getting old. All right, I'm going to go back for you guys. Sorry. Here I am talking and you see my face on the screen. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that I'm Sleepy Joe number 2. I'm going to go ahead and play the video again for you because this is just absurd. Watch what happens to this guy.
Chief Blanchard.
Like every other citizen, Jason Followell was given 3 minutes to make his statement. But before that, Mayor Ramiro Gomez made his rules clear.
During council meetings, members of the public shall not engage in shouting, unruly behavior, defamation, personal affronts, profanity, or threats of any kind. I'm talking. It's my turn to talk.
Personal attack once again, Mayor.
Please, will you? I don't give a crap what you say. Okay, now
there it is again.
City Council felt personally attacked after hearing Followell curse at them multiple times.
Okay, so you see that guy? I mean, obviously he's a big dude. Looks like he could probably handle himself. But you see, he's being swarmed on by these police. Now, this reminds me of like the age of Julius Caesar when he had his own Praetorian Guard, right? And you see these officers acting, they're even wearing the black uniforms like a Praetorian Guard would, right? I mean, give me a bunch of ones if you see the similarities. To me, it's glaring. Now, the difference is under our form of government, law enforcement officials took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And there's something called the First Amendment, guys. And this is why I probably could never be a police officer, because they would be fired if they didn't arrest this guy, right? And in my opinion, he is under arrest. He's being deprived of his right of free speech. And these officers are violating his rights, and they shouldn't be. They should allow him to if I was one of those officers, I wouldn't last more than a day. I would say, but sir, he's engaged in a First Amendment protected activity. If you do that, I can be sued. And I'm not going to be your agent and allow myself to be sued, sir. You can make a citizen's arrest and you can try to do it that way. But I'm not going to take this person into custody or make him leave. That's what I would say. Give me a bunch of ones if that's what you would have said too. But let's go ahead and keep watching.
And just as Followell was escorted out by police, his attorney C.J. Grisham, who's licensed to practice in the state of Texas, came up to the podium.
What I just witnessed was a violation of Mr. Followell's rights.
Grisham goes on to argue swear words do not provide a probable cause for an arrest of disorderly conduct. Grisham believes the mayor's rules are unconstitutional.
Absolutely.
Texas attorney Bill Ailshire, who specializes in open government law, tells us what he thinks.
If a council is going to allow anyone to speak, they can't discriminate against someone because of the topic.
But still, Ailshire thought their behavior was out of line.
Oh, you're going to arrest me? Oh, you're going to arrest me? Okay, so under the threat of arrest, you just violated my right.
I don't think the mayor violated their rights. I think they exceeded the rules that are.
Okay, so this guy has a different opinion, all right, and I respectfully disagree with him. What he's saying is that the mayor made these rules and they have to be obeyed, right? But the mayor is not the legislator, right? The mayor has rules, and if those rules go against the Constitution, they are null and void. Take a look at Marbury versus Madison sometime. Any law repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. And this goes back all the way back to the Magna Carta. I mean, it's a natural right to be able to speak freely and speak your mind, even if it pisses someone off. And I think that you guys that are more my age, that grew up in a time when you had maximum speech, recognize that, and you didn't get butt hurt or get twisted panties when someone offended you. This whole concept of the crime of offense comes from these weak-minded countries like Germany or the United Kingdom, where they have laws against offending somebody, and you can literally go to prison for offending someone. And what made us different is that we fought a violent, bloody revolution to precisely escape that form of the government, because it basically allowed the king and the king's men to rule the roost. And in our country, sovereignty lies with the people, much to the chagrin of people like Tampon Tim and Kamala Harris. But let's go ahead and keep watching.
Applicable to what they're allowed to do during an official government meeting.
I agree with that, Bill. All right, so Bill Boebert said there's too many wussies nowadays, and I agree with that, man. I mean, you're talking to somebody. I went into the Marine Corps right out of high school, and I thought that it was the highest calling to serve your country, to protect and defend the Constitution. And of course, I found out years later that we were lied to by our government about the Gulf of Tonkin to get us into Vietnam, and that ultimately my father died of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from being exposed to Agent Orange. And then we were also lied to about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and I lost a lot of my friends in combat. And I'm just very, very disappointed. I still would have I'll never change. You know, I would never change it. Being a Marine, it helped shape me and helped me become a better man, helped me become a warrior. And I believe in all cultures, to become a real man, you have to become a brave or a warrior first. And you have to be strong, and you have to prove to the women in the tribe that you're capable of defending her and her children. Right? You get it, guys? You understand where I'm coming from. You have to prove to her that you're capable of providing and defending her and the children as the first line of defense and provision. And so I would have never changed that in a million years. So hopefully I'm sharing the right screen now. So don't hold it against me, because I know a lot of people think, oh, if you were in the military, you're like evil or you're a jackboot thug or whatever. But that's not why I joined. I joined because I wanted to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. I had spent so much time basically worshiping my father and spending time reading books about the Constitution at the library that I felt that that was my duty, to become a warrior, because I read about the Native Americans and the Indians, how you had to become a brave, go on a hunting party and bring back a kill to prove to the other people in the tribe and your unit that you were capable of protecting them in times of danger. And Marines always run to the sound of danger. So I knew I needed to be a Marine. So anyways, let's get back into Grisham.
Yeah, I'll sue you as well, Mr. Mayor. Do whatever you want. This is the law right here.
In Aransas Pass, Texas, that is Attorney C.J. Grisham educating city officials on free speech.
If these chiefs come out here and pull me out of this meeting, you had better read this, chief, because he's telling you to break the law.
Mayor, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Mayor, You can take him
Now,
out.
where'd that?
All right. So real quick, guys, because I always got to take a break when I get a super chat. Bill Roberts, man, don't go broke helping me out. You know, if you can afford to do it, do it, but don't feel obligated. I do appreciate the super sticker, brother. I mean, it means a lot to me, and I'll make sure your comments go to the front. Again, I'm a pretty humble dude. And I used to be a really, really successful lawyer until Gavin Newsom destroyed California's economy by shutting it down during this last lockdown period. And I had to take out loans to try and pay my staff. And ultimately, it became very difficult. So we're trying to rebuild. And I understand you guys are going through a lot too, but it does help me support the channel. So it means a lot to me, Bill, more than you know, that you're trying to help out and help me get the message out to spread the word to the American people about the great Leviathan and the vast destruction that they're wreaking upon the American people, flooding the country with illegal aliens, destroying our American way of life. These people, we have no idea who these people are. They don't even have to take a test. They don't have to swear an oath of loyalty to our Constitution or our way of life, but yet they get everything free while military veterans and homeless people are languishing on the streets. It makes me absolutely sick. I mean, I'm the guy that will not hand money to a homeless vet. I'll ask them what their MOS was to make sure I know they were military, and then I'll go to the grocery store and bring them some groceries. That's the way I handle my business. So I do put my money where my mouth is, you guys. I'm a true patriot. And hey, man, Tiffany Dagley, that means a lot to me, Tiffany. By the way, you're one of the most attractive avatars I've seen on my show. So, and look, I'm not flirting or anything, but wow, what a great picture. Thank you so much. $4.99. Make sure you guys to give Tiffany a bunch of ones, and make sure to like and subscribe to her channel as well. It really means a lot to me, Tiffany, that you're here supporting my channel. Thank you so much. And vegan VIP, I don't know what you mean by you're gone, but thank you for showing up for the time that you did. And then let's keep going.
Where'd the coward Kerry Scruggs go?
You go out.
Where'd the coward Kerry Scruggs go?
Take him out.
Is my 3 minutes up?
You're gone.
What am I gone for? What am I gone for? No. His rules of court violate the law.
You're going to go to jail for
Oh, you're going to arrest me? Okay, so under the threat of arrest, you just violated my right.
Grisham is now suing the city on behalf of his client, Jason Followell. City leaders also trampled on Followell's constitutional rights.
I don't give a crap what you say. You can.
Okay, now.
There it is again.
I can talk like
Here we
that.
go.
It's a First Amendment
You are
right.
violating the rules of the court.
See, Blanchard,
You are
what
ordered
First
to leave
Amendment right
the
did I
meeting.
violate?
Out.
No, he's the
I'm not
cop.
gonna
You
deal
tell
with
me.
I'm not.
What First Amendment right
I'm
did I
not.
violate?
I'm not. You're either going to
I'm
respect
asking
this
you a
place
question.
or you're going to be asked to walk out.
Am I under duress of arrest?
You're going to go to jail if you.
I'm going to be arrested.
Let's
Fine.
go.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just kind of share something with you. So when you're threatened with an arrest, it basically gives you the same authority to sue for a violation of a right as if you were arrested. And so it's very important, if you're somebody who is fighting for your rights, to make sure that you get it on the record. And always never don't film police, guys. Never don't film police, because they're basically the Praetorian Guard of the great Leviathan, of the great Julius Caesar, reincarnated in the form of the administrative state that our founding fathers didn't want. Okay. And so if you're threatened with arrest, unless you're like a Chile de Castro or me and willing to go to jail, which I've gone to jail for very similar conduct in the past, which is why I became a lawyer, by the way. And in my book, I think I touch on that, but there's other articles that I've written, and I'll, in some of my videos, touch on that. The threat of arrest would then give you the ability to sue for civil rights violations. Now, your damages won't be as great as if you were incarcerated, right? Because once you're deprived of your freedom and you lose your business or whatever, that goes towards your economic losses and towards your pain and suffering, especially if you're manhandled or you have torture cuffs put on you, which they put on usually super tight, right? And some of the people on my channel know what I'm talking about, where the torture cuffs are so tight on you that you could have your hand or your fingers amputated. And believe it or not, guys, it happens more often than not. The leftist press won't discuss it that much in the news, but it does happen quite a bit. Even if you don't lose your hand or your fingers from these torture cuffs, which they are a torture device. You can blow out your shoulders if you're a big guy like me. because I'm pretty strong. I can bench about 300. And so because of that, it's really hard for me to put my hands behind my back, right? If it wasn't for judo, I wouldn't be as limber as I am. And so as a result of that, you can suffer severe damage to your wrists and your shoulders and permanent. And so it is torture. These things are torture cuffs, but I digress. So you can get more damages and have a better claim is for money damages if you actually get arrested and incarcerated, like what happened to Chile de Castro when he was falsely arrested just recently and had his case reversed on appeal, but he had to spend 4 months languishing in a dungeon. And yes, jail is a dungeon. And the way that the police treat you, they treat you like lower than whale, you know what. And it's absolutely disgusting because so many people have been exonerated, but they treat you like garbage. And all it does is make people hate their government and hate the police. So give me a bunch of ones if you think that the private industrial prison complex and even the public industrial prison complex needs major reform, that these people that run this system, in my opinion, are demonic Luciferian individuals that need to be checked. Now, let's get back into the video before I bore you guys too much with my soapbox.
This began a few years ago when Followell's gym got a fire department citation for electrical wiring.
More issues from that dumpster? No.
Followell complained to the inspectors and described to the city council the retribution he faced.
A citation to an abandoned 17-year-old abandoned outlet with no power. The year before, John Gomez inspected this, said it was okay and there's no issue. This year is an issue. So I corrected them on it and showed them what they did wrong. Instead of apologizing to me, they wrote another citation and another citation and another citation in the same outlet, a total of 9.
Followell then began looking into the fire department and police, found questionable expenditures, and discovered apparent city corruption. The city responded with more citations, raids.
And that's what we're finding is that these local government officials are so corrupt. For example, Springfield, Ohio, the mayor and the city planner or the city commissioner said that, oh, Haitians aren't eating cats and everything's fine here, nothing to see here. But the attorney general said, no, there's evidence that they are. And of course, I broke that down under the rules of evidence, showing that a 911 call is in fact evidence. But Google and the legacy media, which I believe is the enemy of the American people, you can't find a search engine result that doesn't say that Trump lied about Haitians eating cats. And we know that that is actually part of voodoo Haitian culture, eating cats, and they're a delicacy in Haiti. And it's just sad that you can't speak the truth. And here's what I found out. Well, here's why. The city planner and the mayor apparently based on public records, own the actual apartment complexes that are housing these illegal Haitian aliens, and they're being federally subsidized. So there's a partnership between the federal government and the leadership of the Springfield, Ohio local government to house these people. So this mayor and the city planner are making money hand over fist, getting federal subsidies from you and I to house these people, or they're automatically getting driver's licenses, and allegedly they don't even have to take a driving test. So there's just massive reports of accidents, them running people over, women coming to public city council meetings and complaining that their mother was run over by one of these illegal aliens and killed, and it's falling on deaf ears. And why is that? Well, it's because it's money, guys, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this is another example that we're seeing of a man who found corruption in the government and theft taken from the people. And what is their response? Well, to give him citations. Let's keep listening.
It's an alleged harassment.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you have to relate that to that, but
I do. How do you not understand that? You took an oath to the 4th Amendment.
You're right.
You took an oath to the Constitution. And you're going to let them come on my property for something outside of my property?
Recently, at another city council meeting, Followell decided to confront city leaders and put his views on the public record.
Jason Followell, one of the only people in the room that tells you the truth. By the way, your citizens' comment stuff is that you can do everything you just said is not against the law. I can personally affront you, cuss at you, do whatever I want, and you have to listen to me because you work for me. You need to remember that, boy. All right. Chief Blanchard. Chief Blanchard, 1247. You spent.
Okay, now,
Excuse me?
I just read you the
And
first
you're wrong,
warning.
and you're lying to the public.
I'm not going to put up.
I'm not going to put up with
any
you.
defamation of character.
That's not defamation,
I'm not
that's a fact.
I don't care.
You
I'm
have
not
to
going
care.
to put up with no profanity or anything. You either act like an adult and speak right to everybody that's here,
Speak
and you have
right.
the privilege to speak your mind for 3 minutes.
You work for
I'm just
me,
saying.
boy. You need to
I'm just
remember
telling
that.
you. Go ahead.
That's your
Go.
warning.
Okay, I'm telling you.
Now rewind my clock
right.
while I finish my statement.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Chief Blanchard, $1,247 fitted suit you stole from the company. From us. You work for us. On 9/10/23. Kerry Shrugs, you lied to the public. Kerry Shrugs on Facebook stated that these personally fitted suits was pre-approved by the council and manager of 2011. Jason Knight's dad was that mayor then. Guess what he said, Kerry? Never approved that. Laugh at me all you want. Modifications to the policy manual took place almost 40 days after I complained about him. Y'all modified it. Why did y'all modify it? You know when it was modified before, Kerry? Not 2011. I do. 2019, 2014, 2004. You lied to the public. Even with the recent modifications, a Class A uniform is the highest uniform APBD has, and it is not a suit, you scumbag. Uniform Class A. Did you have a dress hat? No, you did not. Long sleeves. Did you have that? Yes, you did. Tie, yes. Trousers, yes. Skirt, I mean, maybe.
Mr. Mayor.
Black belt. I'm talking. It's my turn to talk.
Personal attack once again, Mayor.
Peace. Will you? I don't give a crap what you say. You piece.
Okay, now.
There it is again.
I can talk like
Here we
that.
go.
It's a First
You
Amendment
are
right.
violating the rules of the court.
See, Blanchard,
You are
what
ordered
First
to leave
Amendment right
the
did I
meeting.
violate?
Out.
No, I'm not. He's the
I'm not
guy.
gonna
You
deal
tell
with
me.
it. I'm not.
What First Amendment right
I'm
did I
not.
violate?
I'm not. You're either going to
I'm
respect
asking
this
you a
place
question.
or you're going to be asked to walk out.
Okay, so there you see it again. The Praetorian Guard comes along based on the edict of, it looks probably the city attorney over there. And again, he's alleging that all these guys are corrupt and he's providing evidence on the record. And so, yeah, he's using vernacular that I wouldn't use because I believe that civility is the way to go. But at the same token, as a lawyer and somebody who was a Marine, I understand that not everyone's the same. And some people are going to be like your crazy uncle and they're going to be loud and they're going to be abusive. But he didn't do anything that I can see that violates the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. What I do see is a vague and ambiguous rule that's being edicted by these same people who are being accused of stealing and theft from we the people. And what do? They send their Praetorian Guard to send this guy away.
Am I under duress of arrest?
You're gonna go to jail if you.
I'm going to be arrested.
Let's
Fine.
go.
Okay. Here.
And there's CJ again. God bless him. And we saw this part already. So let's get into another scene with CJ because I've got a lot of material to go through, guys. And honestly, they both cuss quite a bit. And I didn't get a chance to see that part if it was X'd out. And now YouTube is censoring people and banishing their channels for saying swear words and stuff. So it's getting pretty bad. So again, I am looking at Patreon as well as Rumble. If anybody has any ideas or suggestions to help me like start moving my channel over there, I would really appreciate it. And by the way, for the people who are joining me late, today, another thing that Chili and I have been noticing is that our channels are being shadow banned and preventing people from liking and commenting. So if there's a way you guys in your spare time or even now while you're watching the show, if you could look at some of my shorts and just see if the like button works, see if the comment feature works, that would be really helpful. Like and share and press the share thing, see if it'll share for you. Because obviously I think something foul is afoot and it seems to only go after people like me and Chili who question authority and try to hold the government accountable. So it's something that I would really appreciate it if you guys could help me with. I mean, look, I'm an officer of the court. All I'm doing is sharing stuff with you that our Constitution and Bill of Rights says is protected. And these platforms like YouTube are covered under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And basically they're supposed to leave our content alone and not arbitrarily and capriciously come up with these crazy rules, right? The only time they are supposed to interfere is if it was like child porn, for example, or a threat against the government. Then they have a Good Samaritan provision under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act to shut that down. But what they're doing is they're coming up with arbitrary and capricious pretextual rules to silence and destroy the lives and livelihood of people who use their platform in good faith to share information, which I believe is a violation. And I think if Jason Fick's case goes through the way I think it will, all these big platforms are going to be held to account. And I think they should try to be more like X and just have like a community notes feature where people can just share their information, what they think, as opposed to having one of the blue-haired mafiosos in their tech departments deciding who's the winner and who's the loser. I think that, give me a bunch of ones if you agree that that's disgusting that they're able to do that.
And if I recall, there's a place at the San Patricio County Navigation District at the marina to dispose of oil and stuff. Yeah, there is. It's up there by the Harbor Master building.
Good. Ms. Scruggs, you can stay. I'm not going to be saying fuck a lot this time. I owe you some apologies. One, for the way I dress. As a professional, I've neglected to come to these meetings appropriately dressed, perhaps not looking like your definition of a professional. I've worn T-shirts, I've worn hoodies, when such royalty as yourself deserves Sunday best. After all, I think the mayor said it best when he said we should treat this place with the same.
So because he said that swear word, I would appreciate it if you guys would type into the sidebar, this is a reaction video. This is a reaction video several times. So the thought police can understand that, look, this is a reaction video. This is somebody at a public meeting stating their mind. And I hope we don't have any issues with the thought police on this. But if you can type for me, this is a reaction video into the sidebar, I'd really, really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Decorum as we would a church. Unfortunately, I don't have the access to the city's credit card that the chief does. I can't buy a $1,200 suit. And I ignored the fact that you are to be worshiped in this temple of government, not held accountable. I apologize. Number two, for the way I talk. I didn't realize that being way down here in southern Texas, it's entirely possible that word of the ratified 1791 Constitution that included the First Amendment might not have hit these parts yet, and that you're supposed to obey them. I meant to bring a copy for each of you, but my scribe ran out of parchment paper, molted flight feathers, a quill, and an inkwell. I apologize. I apologize for the company I keep. Chief Blanchard tried to warn me long ago during a meeting that he recorded and hasn't yet released that Mr. Followwell was a criminal. I should be careful with whom I associate. Apparently criminals aren't allowed to have attorneys or something like that.
Yeah, so guilt by association is a common thread with the administrative state, right? Well, while they trample over our rights and they get to decide what misinformation is when they lie to us, all the primary purveyors of misinformation are the government, by the way. So these are the same people saying that they're going to be our sole source of truth and falsity. And of course, they're starting young in California. Comrade Newsom has a law that he signed that forces public schools to only use approved sources of information. And of course, what are those approved sources? CNN, PMSNBC, far left, radical, anti-American news organizations. And that is what the schools now have to accept as the only source of information. If it comes from a source like me, a lawyer, a professional who actually knows history and shares the truth, I would be considered a purveyor of misinformation and not to be trusted. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now with the administrative state. They're really, ever since X started providing an alternative form of media where people could start sharing how they really felt, the government, the administrative state, the great Leviathan has been doing everything they can to clamp down on our ability to speak and share true information that they'll say is false as a pretextual reason to ban you and get you thrown off of their channels.
But we'll find out soon enough. I should have listened. I didn't take the time to see things from a tyrant's perspective. I apologize. But all that changes now. Chief Blanchard was right. Anyone can Google stuff. Anyone can quote case law. We just didn't have the facts. We've just been wrong all this time when we spoke to you about gun rights, when we spoke to you about free speech, when we spoke to you about warrantless searches and faulty warrants based on no probable cause. When we demanded equal treatment of the law, we were just wrong. When we tried to educate you on the meaning of rubbish. By the way, just look in a mirror. After all, Chief Blanchard has been a cop for 24 years now. You all have been tyrants your whole life. Who are we to ignore this experience? Maybe you are the ones that are right all along. Last time I was here, Chief Blanchard gave me some advice, and I'm finally going to obey. It's important to respect and obey our police chiefs. They know better than anyone in this room what is good for us. They're smarter alone on their worst days than all of us are collectively on our best days. Otherwise, surely you wouldn't keep this guy employed as your police chief, right? So I'm taking the advice he gave me when he threatened to arrest me last time I was here for daring to read the words of the Supreme Court. When he said, "Stop talking and just sue me." Okay, Chief, here we go.
3 minutes are up.
These are your lawsuits.
Good job, CJ. Good job, CJ. You've been served. That was classy. I like that. Give me a bunch of ones for CJ, guys. That was great.
Not you, Joe. We still love you.
Thank you.
That was outstanding. All right. So that, to me, that was just good stuff. So let's talk about that a little while. So, well, hopefully I don't get banned for him saying a bad word. But you saw what happened. You know, this time he showed up with a suit and tie. Seemed like they gave him a little bit more respect. And I'll be honest, that's why I always try to make sure to wear a shirt and tie for y'all, because I know that I'm a lawyer and I need to present the image of an officer of the court. But typically what you would see in front of you is a dude with a Powerhouse gym shirt, with a full sleeve, with a Marine Corps tattoo. Just kind of like that dude that was just there. Because my heart really is, I'm a warrior, but I also understand that I have to transform myself into a lawyer in order for people to take me seriously. I hope that makes sense. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys understand where I'm coming from. But my heart is with you, the people. I am a man of the people. I am a man for the people, and I am a man of the people. And that's what makes me different than, I believe, the vast majority of lawyers and people who spent their lives in academic institutions. I can build a house from the ground up. My father was a builder, and I worked construction all the time with my dad, summers and even after school. I can dig the forms, I can pour the foundations, put the rebar in there. I can put up the frames, put up the sticks. I can finish frame. I've got a whole garage filled with all the tools. I got everything. You got air files, generators, drills, saws. I got everything. Got the best Milwaukee equipment, skill saw, all the good stuff. And so my heart is with you all. And that's why I love being here with regular people in the sidebar, like Tiffany Dagley and Just Willie and Michelle Henry, my new, one of my best fans, Michelle, who's always here to support me. And I really, really appreciate the love and the support, because it means a lot to me, because, you know, we're in the age of electronics, so we can't always meet face to face. So it's really nice to be able to have you guys here. So let's get into the next video. And so I'm really trying to focus on public servants gone wild, with a focus on what's going on with school board meetings and public meetings where upset people are complaining. And then we're going to get into some videos about how the FBI and Garland has been targeting parents and other people with his FBI to try to intimidate them from complaining about the government. We see this massive movement since Barry Soetoro was president to attack anyone and go after anyone who mistrusts the government as a potential domestic violent extremist. We see that Obama was really trying to transform us, fundamentally transform us into Europe. And I protest. I protest against that deeply. I do not want to be anything like Europe. America became the land of the free and the home of the brave precisely for the very reasons Obama is trying to take away from us. And we saw him go on TV the other day and try to scold the American people and black men for not supporting Kamala, saying, well, you're not supporting a woman and all this nonsense. Look, they're not supporting her because she's a bad candidate. When you ask her a question, she doesn't even answer the question. I mean, you say, what are you going to do to fix the economy? She'll be like, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. Objection, non-responsive. She never answers the question. She's a horrible candidate. She was anointed because of her support for the globalist government system that Barry supports, in my opinion. And so that's why I'm really focusing on the local elections, because Soros has been paying off these local officials and funding their elections. And we, the people, when we go to these meetings, we're seeing a direct result of these Soros funded politicians. And here's some more examples.
Mr. C, please continue, sir.
On page 1, okay. Who wants my hot wiener? Oh, yeah, baby.
Mr. C, thank you, sir.
We're talking about a hot dog here. It's a hot dog. Page 2.
Here comes the Praetorian Guards.
Dad is angry. These are some unfortunate.
Hey, don't touch him. He didn't break the law.
This is an attack on family. Page 3.
Hey, he didn't break the law.
Whose beggars are picking up so?
Hey, he's not breaking the law.
Hey, easy now, easy,
Hey.
easy.
Hey.
Take your time.
Always film, guy. Protect
You did it, but you don't have a voice.
Pay attention to what that costume.
Mr. C, please continue, sir.
So anyways, that was just another example. The guy's up there speaking, and then all of a sudden the Praetorian Guard just hauls him off. They don't even give him a reason, right? I mean, it's just blowing my mind what's going on out there. Here's another one.
Education system, then you say, well, what can we do to now change how our children think so that we can use it in a way for indoctrination or for power control?
Hopefully you guys can hear this guy.
Thank you for finally being honest and transparent with your words and intentions, Chairwoman Johnson.
You are not supposed to address an individual member of the board. You can turn his mic off.
I think so, Bill.
Gwinnett has now secured nonpartisan school board elections. Thanks to your actions and propaganda, a parent bill of rights and a bill providing promised scholarship funds are working its way through the General Assembly. Dr. Watts, thanks to your inaction,
Cannot introduce. Turn his mic off. He is addressing an individual member of the board.
When you look at the education system, then you say,
Wait a minute. So they have a rule in place that the citizenry is not allowed to address an individual member of the board. I don't know if any of you people are old enough to remember the Soviet Union, but these people are no different than the proletariat. These people sound exactly like the Soviet bosses, the leaders of the Soviet Union. You're not allowed to say anything or speak up against any of these elected officials lest you be jailed and thrown out of a public meeting. It's absolutely disgusting. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree with me that it's disgusting what's going on. Now, another big movement that's been going on in California, which is why I had to flee California and get my children out of their public school system, is this need for administrative agents and these freshly graduated safe space college kids with teaching credentials is to enforce their view of sexuality on children. And when I grew up, if you were going to get into a sex education class, your parents had to sign off on it because that is the purview of parents. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree that the moral education of your children is the parents' responsibility, not somebody who spent their time in a Marxist training camp like UCLA. Give me a bunch of ones. Now, what we'll do is we'll get into this next video. And again, I don't care about what people want to do in their own time in their own bedrooms, but when they parade a flag around in front of my children that basically says they like to do it to another person and put it in a certain part of their body, to me, that's ridiculous. The only flag that I think should be in a classroom is the American flag or the state flag. It's crazy, but let's see what's going on and why parents are so upset right now.
Erupt at an elementary school in North Hollywood during a protest over Pride Month.
Fox 11's Christy Fajardo, she's there and she joins us now live with the very latest. Christy.
Marla and Coco, that event was held here at Satakoy School. It is quiet now, but I can tell you for much of the day, it was very loud. We heard chanting, we heard shouts, we heard a lot of cursing, even anti-gay slurs. And at one point, it even got physical.
Right, Steve. That's right.
Tensions boil over and come to blows. One person is injured. despite pleas for calm.
Everybody, there's kids here, stop!
For much of the day, a row of police officers stood outside Satakoy Elementary and tried to keep the two sides apart. Even when they blocked each other's paths and got.
Well, let me lay a foundation for you. One group are the parents, okay? These are the actual parents of the children that attend the school. And the other group are a group of people that were bussed in by people like Antifa and Soros organizations, and they're not in any way, shape, or form connected to the school, except for maybe one or two of the parents. The other side is all parents, and they have shirts that say, leave our kids alone. And these other people are activists that are there to basically attack the parents, in my opinion. And so I just want, because as a lawyer, I feel it's my duty to lay a proper foundation so you understand what's really going on.
In each other's faces. The school became the center of protest after some parents learned that a video of a book where it says some kids have two mommies, some have two daddies, would be played at a Pride assembly. This mother, who helped organize the protest, says she should have been given the choice of opting her child out of attending.
This is not the right message for kids to confuse them at this age. What kind of families are out there, because they don't know anything. They don't understand.
Look, I have gay friends. I have nothing against you.
That's right. And why is it the job of these Marxist educators to put these books in front of your children? What gave them that right? I mean, I don't understand why everybody's not homeschooling their kids right now. I mean, this is a travesty that little kids, impressionable children, remember that Karl Marx was always about get your stuff in front of the little children as quick as you can. Make sure to groom those little kids so you can shape their mind. I mean, these people have your kids for 6 to 8 hours a day, and the parents don't even know about it. I mean, how is that fair to the parents? Look, my wife got up at 3 a.m. to feed the kids, the babies, when they were crying, feed them, right? They're my kids. We made them together, her and I. We're the ones who get to decide, not the government, not the state. This is really, really a bad thing, what's going on in California, guys. It is a travesty of justice.
Absolutely nothing. This whole gathering was for the parents to meet with LAUSD officials and tell them how we feel about it.
But counter-protesters argue signs reading "Stop Grooming" or sexualizing our kids tell a different story.
Queer people are not inherently sexual. We are just like every other person. And the fact that out here they're trying to harass these poor children into being in their worldview is atrocious.
LAUSD superintendent defended the assembly.
Wait a minute. All the parents are saying is, we want our kids to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, and leave our kids alone. We'll teach our kids the other things they need to know. And so I believe that this is a massive disinformation campaign. It's from a legal perspective, as a lawyer, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why are these teachers trying to push this literature on the children of these parents who clearly don't want that done to their kids? Why is this even an argument? Can anybody tell me in the sidebar why this is even an argument? Look, I honestly do have a lot of gay friends. Look, I was in the Marine Corps, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of gay dudes in the Corps, but they're masculine and they're fighters and warriors, right? And that's what it's all about. I don't really care, but what I do care is, I'm not going to force Christianity or religion as a school teacher on their kids, and I expect the same from them, right? I believe there was a John Wayne movie, I'm not going to harass you or shoot at you or insult you, and I expect the same back. And that's all I'm saying. It's just basic civility. That's all it is.
Saying the book was approved by the state.
As a parent, as an educator, we should not accept children being used as political pawns.
Our protest is against LAUSD.
Protesters tell us they kept their kids home today.
Thanks, Copster
Others sent their
5150. I
children to
appreciate that.
school, including this father with a bien or very proud shirt who tells us he's gay.
I do see it as hurtful, but I know for my kids, I have to be strong and, look the other way.
Police say no one involved in that fight wanted to press charges, so no arrests were made. But they are hoping to make an arrest in another incident here at the school. They tell us over the weekend, someone broke into the school and burned the pride flag belonging to a transgender teacher. According to the LA Times, that teacher has been.
Yeah, and we've seen plenty of examples of that, and it usually turns out that it's one of the activists on the other side doing that, right? We've seen that happen hundreds of times now on the mainstream press where like a government official will be caught on tape destroying his own property and trying to blame it on some right-wing radical. So, I have a really hard time believing any of that stuff. It's always the mainstream press is the enemy of the American people. So I don't really I take it with a grain of salt, right? As should you, I believe. Now, so what the parents are complaining about now in California is Gavin Newsom passed what's called the Safety Act. And what that does is it allows school teachers to keep a secret from the parents that their boy might think he's a girl or their girl might think he's a boy. And it's covered under hate speech laws. So if it's hateful to tell a parent who doesn't support their child being transitioned, and so the teachers have the right to secretly transition children and not tell the parents. And that's what the Safety Act is. It's called AB 1955. You can look it up. This is not misinformation or disinformation. This is merely a lawyer reaction video explaining to you what the law is. Whether you support it or not, that's up to you. As a parent, I would never allow my child to be exposed to a radical activist with rainbow flags all over the classroom trying to tell my son that he might be a girl. I just don't think that's appropriate. I think that there's too much government overreach into our classrooms, and it's time to start homeschooling. You cannot allow this as a parent. If you love your kids, you will flee California. That's what a lot of people are saying. So that would be that is what a lot of the parents are complaining about. So now we'll get into some other stuff. I just wanted to share that with you. That's what the parents are upset about. They don't like it that the school teachers are secretly transitioning their kids, in their opinion, and they don't appreciate it. So that's all that was. Let's get into the next video.
Jailed for allegedly disrupting a Wilmington City Council meeting are now suing the city. Their charges were dismissed.
In their lawsuit, Tony Thomas and Daryl Petrie say the city violated their rights. I-Team reporter Craig Cheatham shows what happened and why the men feel entitled to damages.
All right, Tony, put your hands on your back for me.
Tony Thomas
It scared me.
and Daryl Petrie
I'm going to jail too.
were arrested
Would you like to take him for please?
and jailed in April after Wilmington city officials claimed they committed the crime of disrupting a public meeting.
I'm 52 years old, just, exercising my rights, and I get arrested for it. And that's scary.
During this meeting in April, Thomas criticized city spending on a cleaning product and claimed then Mayor John Stanforth owed, quote, $1,500 in school taxes.
And do not attack a member.
Then City Council President Mark McKay asked Thomas if he wanted to be removed. Thomas said yes. Right after that, police arrested Thomas. Then Police Chief Ron Fithen issued this warning.
If we want to continue this pattern, we will take you to jail each and every time.
Minutes later, Petrie claimed the mayor had aided in the whitewashing of 2 murders.
Right, so you see, like, these public officials are being called out because there's no other way to approach them, right? And so the local people who are in the communities are going and they're complaining about it. And look what happens. These guys, they get thrown in jail. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, this reminds me of something out of a dystopian novel. This reminds me of like George Orwell, 1984. Give me a bunch of ones if you see that the administrative state has basically become like an Orwell novel.
What's been done? I said you to stop that. What's been done? All right, you're done.
After that, police arrested Petrie. Both men were taken to jail. The city dismissed the charges in July.
That's right,
Former
Roger.
Mayor Stanworth,
Exactly.
Chief Fithen, and McKay all declined to comment.
What they did was wrong, and I think they should pay. They should pay and be held accountable.
Thomas and Petrie are suing the city of Wilmington, Chief Fithen, and McKay. According to the lawsuit, the defendants violated Petrie and Thomas's rights, maliciously prosecuted them, and threatened further protected speech.
It would have been one thing to just silence them, chill their speech, and remove them from the building and humiliate them. It's another thing to maliciously prosecute them the way that they did.
Before the council meeting in April, Petrie and Thomas had publicly criticized city officials over different issues in emails, social media, and public meetings reviewed by the I-Team. But according to their lawsuit, Thomas and Petrie weren't arrested until the meeting in April, which was 2 weeks before an election. It was an election the mayor lost.
Thanks,
McKay
Abe.
resigned as council president in June. Craig Cheatham, WCPO 9 News.
So you see, it's getting out of control, right? I mean, if you're a traditional American who believes in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, you're looked at as someone who's engaged in hate speech, and it's out of control. And the local city councils and the school boards are just filled with these people who are just so hateful. And if you're a Christian or somebody who believes in traditional American values, you are looked down upon as an enemy. It used to be when I was growing up, there were Republicans and Democrats, and we all pledged allegiance to the flag. It's just that one party thought that they could do a better job than the other. And now you basically just have one party that pledges allegiance to the American flag, and the other party pledges allegiance to the Palestinian flag, a rainbow flag, anything but the American flag. And we just see that the destruction of our core American values. When I go to a restaurant with my kids, I mean, these young people don't even open up doors for the older women and elderly. They just let the doors close right on them. And so I'll get back there and open the door for them. I'm just disgusted that the value system has just gone so far downhill, that the lack of civility, it's so atrocious and hideous to me. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree with that. Let's watch this next video. It's only a couple minutes. Just another example of the great Leviathan administrative state.
Let us in! Let us in! Let us in here! This is ridiculous. His daughter's here. This is a public meeting. Why are you acting like this, sir? You are not following the law. Hey.
Access
to board meetings. A parent is entitled to complete access to any meeting of the Board of Trustees of the school district other than the closed meeting held in compliance with subchapters D and E.
That's right.
They are not in closed meeting. This
Did
is
you
an
let any of
open
these people
public
in?
Meeting. We should be inside of there right now.
That's true. Did you let any of these people in? Sir,
Do you gentlemen have children? Would you want to be in a school board meeting with decisions involving your children? You won't let parents in. You don't have anything to say about that?
Secret meeting.
These guys are enforcing an unlawful order and won't tell us who did it, who's given them the authority, won't tell us what rule or law is being enforced here, other than to stand in the door like some German Gestapo force and prevent us from entering a public meeting.
Other parents are in there.
And not the law. That's what I just said. And I want them to understand that, because that's what was just said at the dais.
We've read them the law?
Yes, they're not upholding law, they're upholding policy.
That's right. Policy is not law.
I'm not anywhere threatening you guys. I'm just going to walk into the meeting. That's all I'm doing, sir.
There's a chair.
He has children in this district and there's open seats, sir.
I'm not doing anything.
Follow the law.
Shame on those cops.
Oh, okay.
That's Dustin. They're dragging him out the back
Dustin's
door.
getting dragged out because he doesn't agree with the tyrannical school board, and you guys are complicit. Do you feel good about this? Do you?
So here's
You just got dragged out of there?
got dragged out of the meeting because they started talking about changing the tax rate.
Sure
They
does,
wouldn't let
Bill.
the community in.
Yeah,
I
he
asked to let the
was waiting.
community in so that the public could see what tax rates they were changing. And they said I was being disruptive and had the police officers escort me
You
out.
seem.
What a joke.
This is ridiculous.
This is not okay.
Shame on these guys. I mean, just absolutely. What a joke. Yeah, can you guys believe this? Are you watching the same thing that I'm watching? This reminds me of something out of like 1920s, like Nazi Germany, right? Like excluding one class of parents who supports, the right of parents to have control over the school curriculum, and then only allowing the rainbow flag mafia other side into the meeting, excluding them. And these are the arguments that I actually know some parents who were at that meeting. That's what I was told. I'm just sharing stuff with you based on what I'm being told. So don't hold it against me and say I'm engaged in misinformation. All right. Because we know the thought police want to do anything they can to silence people like me, because I'm a voice in the desert like John the Baptist. And you can see also by typically in my other shows where I don't discuss things that actually affect the public like this and parents, I'll have 300 or 400 people But you can see I've got, what, 59 people in the show. And that's because their algorithm is basically preventing people from being able to see this, because they do not want people to know the truth, in my opinion. So I think that's what's really going on. And I think you guys probably agree with me if you're critical thinkers. Let's keep watching.
Try to talk fast. I know we only have 2 minutes now. Okay. Some of you already know, but I pulled both of my kids from school in January. And it wasn't because
Good
I
for
had
you.
an urgent urge to homeschool 2 teenagers.
Good for you.
While working 2 jobs.
So
It was
hard.
because I didn't have a choice. You can no longer keep my kids safe physically or mentally. You have prioritized feelings
That's right.
over learning,
Amen.
daily SEL lessons, and restorative circles, which arguably I know made everything worse.
Sure
The
did.
fighting issue is no surprise, and there's fights daily, which led to holds in places. I had my daughter keep track, and on average, you're losing about 2 hours of precious learning instruction every week due to these hold in places.
Social
The second
engineering,
biggest
brainwashing
issue
children.
is the vaping and drug use. And let's be clear, these kids run the schools. Administration has no control whatsoever. Everyone is either vaping or has their weed pens. There's some students with their own Instagram pages that tell you what they sell at school. I've seen them. Pregnancy test and Plan Bs are the normal find in the girls' garbages. It's disgusting, but that's what both my kids think is normal. That's not
Terrible.
normal. When I used to pick my kids up after school, as soon as I stepped on premise, I would think I just arrived on set to a kiddie porn with 6th and 7th graders wearing crop tops and half shirts or nothing but a bra to school. But yet again, my daughters think that that's normal. When I questioned the code of conduct, I was told you're trying to be equitable for all. Love that word.
Ridiculous.
I promise you, half shirts and full shirts, they cost the same. There's no difference. And I would have hoped we as adults would have want to make our children strive for more than looking to be in the next Cardi B music video. Changing directions. My 10th grade daughter, who is in AP English, has no idea how to write an essay. What?
Your time is up.
My 10th grader has no idea how to write an essay. And that's absolutely terrifying to me because all of these kids are going to graduate with an 8th grade education.
Really, Jeff? That's terrible, man. Facebook won't let you share my stuff.
The fact that she doesn't know how to write an essay in a sophomore, I had a teacher with a noun, verb, and
Ms. Phelps,
adverb.
I'm going to ask you to stop. All right. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to learn from my experiences. Thank you.
Yeah, they're all about equity. They're all about fairness, unless someone has an opinion they disagree with. And with this young generation being brainwashed by people like that, leading this council meeting, all they're going to know is the Orwellian dystopian universe. They'll never understand critical thinking. They'll never understand that people have a right to have a different opinion and not be told they're being engaged in hate speech, right? Because that's all they're doing. The government, these administrative bureaucrats are trying to classify anyone who disagrees with the World Economic Forum, Hillary point of view as someone who's engaged in violent speech. And until X took over Twitter, they said, oh, social platforms can do whatever they want. They're a private company. And then as soon as Musk started letting people have a different opinion and say what they wanted to say without being shadow banned and censored, immediately all these people are coming out saying these people need to be taken offline. We need to shut down their company. But it's all about controlling the narrative, right? And the thought police want to control that narrative because they know that these young kids are really impressionable, right? So are the illegals that come here. They give them a bunch of free stuff. They don't know anything about our way of life or our Constitution. But when they ultimately get the right to vote, or they vote anyways, they're just going to vote for whoever's giving them a check. They're not going to engage in critical thinking because in their country they may have been sleeping, in a village somewhere and maybe eating one meal a day, some beans or whatever they get their hands on, maybe some huevos. And now they're getting free everything. They're getting more than our veterans and our homeless people. So what way do you think they're going to vote? And the same goes with the kids. They're only exposed to one side, and the teachers won't allow the other side to have a voice because it's hateful, right? Everything's hateful that they disagree with. So to me, it's just like really just a violation of the Constitution. And it's an insult to all these parents and these family members who simply want to have a better life for their kids. Now, here's another one. This isn't a video. I'm just going to share this with you. So hundreds of parents in Vail, Arizona. And then I'll take some questions from the audience in a minute here. Hundreds of parents in Vail, Arizona attended a school board meeting protesting mask mandates for schools. They wouldn't leave. The board was overwhelmed and outnumbered, so they quit. The parents elected new members and immediately struck down the mask mandates for kids. And of course, the comment says, "This is the way." Now, people like Hillary and Kamala and Tampon Tim will say, oh, these people are violent extremists. They need to obey. They need to obey. They need to obey their government. Their elected officials know better than them. The nanny state knows better than them. How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys think that a bunch of bureaucrats who were smart enough to get elected, figured out a way to get elected somehow, know better than the parents, know better than you and I? Do you think that just because you work for the government, that makes you better? Because when I grew up, the government was always to be viewed with distrust. We were never to trust the government because we were born in the spirit of revolution as Americans. So I'm just really curious what you guys think. Tell me what you think in the sidebar, guys.
In 1963, Dr. King's speech, he said he dreamed of a day when his kids would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Amen, brother.
I believe in that dream.
Me too.
Parents behind me believe in that dream. Parents out in the parking lot believe in that dream. And the parents also want a voice in their kids' education. Whether it be mask mandate, whether it be a vaccine mandate, whether it be CRT or equity, as you call it, Dr. Lawless.
Right on, Axon.
Parents just want to have a voice in their kids' education.
That's all. That's all they want.
And when parents don't get a voice in their kids' education, they have to take it to the next level. So tonight, Dr. Lawless, I am here to put you on notice that the citizens of this community are officially going to recall you.
I'm digging, man. Some of these dudes are just so right on the money, man. I mean, the spirit of America is still alive, guys, but we've been so suppressed by social media controlling the narrative for all these years until Musk. And now all of a sudden people are realizing, oh my God, I've been lied to. All those fact check labels were a lie. None of it was true. And they're starting to resist and fight back. And what does the deep state want to do? The administrative state want to do? They want to take away more of your freedom. They want to abolish Twitter or put Musk in jail because he's allowing people to speak freely and say what they want to say. I mean, in a world where there's only one narrative, PMS, NBC, CNN, all of these corrupt news organizations that are in the hip pocket of big corporations pushing these disgusting policies on parents and children, now all of a sudden they don't have the control. And the politicians are freaking out, trying to figure out a way to silence us. So they call us bigots, racists, homophobes, whatever. Hey guys, look, I'm in an interracial marriage. I have mixed kids. You call me whatever you want. I'm an American. I don't identify as white or black or any of that nonsense that Obama tried to push on us to divide us. We're just all Americans. We have to love each other and love one another and respect each other's point of view. And I respect your point of view. If you have if you're attracted to the same sex or whatever, that's cool. But don't try to put books in the school library to try to push that lifestyle on my kids. And I won't push Bibles into the school library to push it on your kids. I think that's a fair arrangement. I think we all need to get along and stop trying to force ideology on little kindergartners. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree.
Whatever it is, I don't care if it's nuclear physics, you don't get to have a covert subject because a covert subject implies a secret. And a secret does not get to be had between an adult that works for a public school district and my
Sure
child.
was, Benjai.
And if there's a subject that, whatever it is, I don't care if it's nuclear physics, you don't get to have a covert subject because a covert subject implies a secret. And a secret does not get to be had between an adult that works for a public school district and my
Called
child.
grooming. It's called grooming, guys. That's what we used to call it. That's what psychologists and psychiatrists called it when I was growing up. Adults that want to keep secrets from parents and push an ideology on children, they called it grooming. And little kids are so impressionable. Look, I thought I was a fireman when I was a kindergartner. And now you're going to tell me that I'm a little boy and you're going to try to convince me that I'm a girl? Well, of course I'm going to believe you. Of course, it's ridiculous. All right, so here's another one. I'll try to open this up for you. Look, I'm just trying to share stuff with you. I'm trying to be as neutral as I can. But I mean, come on, guys. I mean, if you're a parent and you have kids and you've sacrificed so much for them, are you really going to let your enemy, people who are ideologically opposed to everything you believe in, teach your kids? It's crazy. So here's what happened. We had a situation where there was a daughter was repeatedly refused to admit falsehoods to the Dean of Student Excellence, an ardent BLM supporter. Okay, this is another one. They're trying to push critical race theory, which basically teaches hatred of white people, that white people are oppressors and black people are victims. That started under Obama, trying to divide us. And I'm all about teaching history, but it's not teaching history to tell people that someone's an oppressor because they're a different skin color. It's ridiculous. So the Dean of Students, an ardent BLM supporter, stated they would not discipline the black students who verbally abused and physically threatened or defamed this other student on social media. As the session progressed and as the daughter refused to be coerced into it, quote, admitting falsehoods, Morrow became more and more aggressive, threatening, and intense. Morrow, who is an African-American woman who physically displays BLM support materials at the Via Duchesne, I guess, high school or whatever, Duchesne High School, would not be issuing any discipline or punishment to these two other kids that basically she had basically attacking this other kid. And they made repeated physical threats against the daughter. And they told a bigoted lie about the daughter and posted violent and defamatory racial statements against the daughter on social media. And so during the meeting, the daughter was held against her will and denied the opportunity to speak to her parents to be represented by counsel. Now, guys, I don't know if you are history buffs, but in Nazi Germany, laws were passed called the Nuremberg laws. And Jewish students in public schools were treated exactly the same way that this teacher was teaching this, I guess, this white girl who didn't want to admit that she was an oppressor by nature of the color of her skin. And ultimately, because the teachers have so much authority, and the teacher is also saying, that the Jews are bad or whatever. To me, this is no different. It's like a mirror image of what happened in Nazi Germany. It's incredibly divisive, and how unfair to do this to children. How are these people even in schools teaching? I mean, again, schools should be for reading, writing, and arithmetic, not teaching radical gender politics, sexual ideology, and brainwashing kids to hate people based on the color of their skin. That's just inappropriate to me. Don't you guys agree with me that it's inappropriate that schools should be institutions of learning about reading, writing, and arithmetic and not social engineering and trying to teach children that they're oppressors or that their parents are oppressors based on the color of their skin? I just think that that's unfair. Don't you think parents should have a say? Do you think that the government should be able to have control over your kids and that parents don't have any rights anymore? What do you guys think? Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd like to know your opinion. Let's watch this next video.
This critical race theory issue unfolding in our own county with changes in curriculum, efforts to spend money on changing school names and buildings, and putting professional development in place that is compelled in terms of teachers, what they have to speak in compelled speech and what they're not allowed to say in all the variations on a theme of critical race theory. And it deeply concerned me because compelled speech is a huge problem. And now we've launched into this effort to highlight what's going on in our schools across the country for 51 million children in grades K through 12 through Eden Gordon Media. I did a presentation for Jonathan Emord, a constitutional attorney, and we had a major presentation bringing together people from across the country.
Yeah, Michelle points out, and rightly so, that in communist country, as well as Nazi Germany, that one of the things the communists did was indoctrinated kids and have them snitch out their parents. And we see that happening. In fact, I represented a family where the teacher was filed a criminal complaint against the parent. I'm not going to get too deep into it, because the parents said they disagreed with the teacher's position that their son was a girl. And the teacher said that I'm a mandatory reporter under California law. And what you just said is hateful because it's preventing your child from coming out. So the teacher took it upon herself to report the parent, and they had their child taken away from them by Child Protective Services. So for you people who don't think this is real, it is real. And it's happening, and it's happening all over the country. It's happening in Canada a lot more, but it's happening all over this country. Parents are just being stripped of their rights for this. Basically, it's like Marxism repackaged into sexual identity and racial identity politics, but it's the same philosophy: oppressor versus oppressed. Let's keep watching.
Addressing these critical race theory concerns of parents, and that only just got accelerated with the efforts of the NSBA taking on the whole of government approach with the help of AG Merrick Garland, and identifying parents as domestic terrorists.
I appreciate
this
that.
spills over to Virginia, the state itself, obviously in a very heated gubernatorial race as well. Candidate Glenn Youngkin, he was on Hugh Hewitt last week talking about McCall, his opponent, and how parents are fed up with the public school system. Here's that.
He wants to put government between parents and their children. He thinks that bureaucrats and politicians know better. And
That's right.
Parents are basically rejecting
We're
it
furious.
all over Virginia. And this is our moment
Shame
too,
on
for
them.
Virginia's parents to stand up for America's parents, because this same thing is happening all over America.
Yep.
And it's one thing to go to the school board meetings, right, and voice your opinion, but now you have a different platform.
What police?
The voting booth.
Well, certainly, we have an important election here in Virginia, and when the gubernatorial candidate on one side in the form of Terry McAuliffe says that parents shouldn't be telling schools what to teach, and then you have U.S. Secretary of Miguel Cardona say that parents, he wouldn't say that parents are the primary stakeholders in their own children's education, just that they were important.
Yep.
And then you have AG Merrick Garland issuing a letter that is taking a whole of government approach to attack parents. You really see what the difference is in this gubernatorial election. It's like
Give me a bunch of ones if you think that Barack Obama is behind all of this, because I do. I think that this guy was the most divisive president ever in the history of this country, and I think that all of his players and personnel are in the White House. It's obvious ever since Biden was anointed as president that he had dementia and that he wasn't running the country. And I'm saying this as a libertarian. I'm not being partisan here. I don't really support Orange Man or any of these guys. I think they're all owned by large corporations. I think that they should wear, like the guys who race cars, they should wear one of those jerseys that have all their patches of their sponsors, right? So you can see who's paying them for their opinions and for their policies. But let's keep going.
One side is saying that government is your co-parent, and the other
Absolutely
is
not.
saying, no, I'm gonna stand with parents. And I really don't think this should be a political issue. That's the problem, is our education system has become highly politicized because it's being weaponized against teachers, against students, and certainly against parents. And I think that you are seeing parents standing up and saying, stop the ideological mind games with our children, stop sexualizing the content in our children's schools, listen to us, stop shutting us out and freezing us out of school board meetings or cutting our time, making us go through and present ID and be wanded in order to go into a school board meeting to speak for 60 seconds. You need more identification to go to speak to a school board meeting in some places than you do to vote. And
You don't need an
clear
ID to vote at all.
horizon of where we're
In California, Gavin Newsom made it illegal to have to show an ID to vote. I mean, can you guys believe this? I mean, it's so obvious what they're doing, right? Isn't it just obvious what's going on, guys? Just obvious. Trying to pull a fast one, right? I mean, why wouldn't you want it? Look, when you vote, you're putting someone into office who literally is going to have their finger on the nuclear trigger. Why wouldn't you want citizens who have a stake in the country to show an ID? But yet when you go to a school board meeting, you got to show an ID. When you go to the Democrat National Convention, you got to show an ID. When you get a car, when you want to get it, you got to get a driver's license to drive a car. I mean, why wouldn't you want people to show an ID to prove that they're a citizen? I mean, how ridiculous is that? do you guys, doesn't something seem foul and smelly? And then to say that for these politicians to say, well, it's because it's racist. How condescending to Black people to assume that they're not intelligent enough to be able to get an ID. It's just ridiculous. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with me that that's ridiculous, guys.
Going for education, not only for children, but the rights of parents. And I'm thinking that maybe Virginia is going to be a bellwether. The question is whether parents are going to take back the rights to be that primary stakeholder in their own children's education.
Well, we'll continue to follow that. That's the big question. What happens here? You've seen a bump in the polls there for the GOP gubernatorial candidate, especially as these school issues come to light and parents are really speaking their mind. There are still some parents that are afraid to speak up because they've seen the backlash.
Parents are terrified and lawyers are terrified too. You can see typically my shows, I'm going to have 300 or 400 people. You can see that the algorithm is blocking my views. I've got like 80 people in here. It's like an insult. What I don't like is that these thought police, they want to prevent people from hearing the other side of the story so they can create a false impression of consensus. And we've seen that with their scientists, right? Same thing. They silenced any scientist who disagreed with their narrative over the last few years. Now, we saw that happen on the social media platforms. A lot of people getting banned, getting in trouble with the government because they want to create a false impression of consensus because they believe that if people are going to be subject to peer pressure and just go along. So because of my background as a Marine and being a fighter and a patriot, I'm just going to say what I need to say because somebody has to stand up for what's right and go against the grain and support we the people. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree that that's what you have to do in times like this. Men need to be brave and grow a pair and start fighting back because that's the only way we're going to change the narrative is to fight back and stop letting people run us. And again, if you want to support me, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have this channel. I would imagine after this show today, I'm going to be banned based on what they've been doing to my channel and silencing and trying to shut down my traffic. If you want to support me and you want to support the channel, get a copy of my ebook. That would be a really great way. I'm selling them for $19.99. If you go to it'll be a digital version of this book, and it's my journey on becoming a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. And I'm selling them for $19.99. And it's digital. So you just go to PayPal, you pay it. And if you want, you can buy it as a family or a friend if you're not scared about not getting the material from me, so I don't have to pay the PayPal fee. And I'll make sure you get your digital version. I got a few sales last night. I still need to send them out. But yeah, go to my channel, to the description, drop it down, go to PayPal and get a copy of the book. The digital version, that would definitely help support my channel. And, ultimately, if I get kicked off of this channel, you'll have my email when I respond back, and I'll let you know where I'm at on Patreon or Rumble. But I honestly, because of the fact that I support the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and traditional American values of loving your neighbor and not allowing administrators to destroy the minds of children, I believe that's the purview of parents. I would assume that people that run Google don't like me, and that's probably why they're throttling the traffic to my channel. So in the meantime, since we all see it on the horizon, we know the thought police are eventually going to take down this channel, that it would be a good idea for us to form parallel systems together and do business with each other that way. Because look, even though there's only 60 people in here right now, less than 3% of the American people participated in the Great Revolution to throw off the chains of tyranny. And we can do it again, guys. All it takes is a few equal people who are equally minded. But let's go now. Steve, if you don't have PayPal, reach out to me and we'll figure out another way to do it. It's unfortunately, I'm not a really tech savvy guy, but maybe Rami can help me out to figure out a way to get the books delivered another way. I just don't, send me whatever your platform is and I'll try to figure out a way to get to it. And then it says here, Cops are 5150 says Google is blocking my emails getting to you. I believe that's true. But age go, just help these people get a hold of me, because you never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Now, here's one about a Las Vegas mother who's upset about an assignment that was given to her daughter. Let's listen to what she has to say.
To my 15-year-old daughter at a local high school. This will be horrifying for me to read to you, but that will give you perspective on how she must have felt when her teacher required her to memorize this and to act it out in front of her entire class. I don't love you. It's not you. It's just, I don't like your dick, or any dick in that case.
Right on,
I cheated, Joe.
Raw.
I'm sorry.
This is propaganda.
Forgive me. Excuse me. I don't, thank you so much for your, thank you for your comment. Forgive me. We're not using profanity. Are you?
Okay.
What?
That's relevant. I should talk.
Okay.
Yes.
The teacher this
Required my daughter to memorize this and read this pornographic material.
Excuse me. Please don't engage with the audience.
Okay. Sorry, this is my
please
first time
continue your
here.
public comment. Your time is.
Wait a
you've got
minute.
One
wait a minute.
minute.
Hold on a minute. The whole point of having a public comment is that you're engaging with the public. So this is another jackboot thug Marxist administrator who thinks that she's better than you. She probably went to like UCI or UCLA and thinks that her worthless piece of paper that she has on the wall makes her better than you, right? And the fact that she's elected, she thinks that she's better than you, like a proletariat. Probably a Marxist, right? That's typically what these school board leaders are now. And she's basically, the parent is reading material verbatim, and this person has the audacity to tell the parent, please don't use that vernacular. Well, it's vernacular that school board was forcing her child to use. I just want to put it into perspective for you guys, how insane these people are.
In 19 seconds. I ask you simply, this is a public meeting. I ask for decorum, and I'm asking Dr. Jara. Thank you so much, Dr. Jara.
If you don't want me to read it to you, what was that like for my 15-year-old daughter to have to memorize pornographic material and
think about that,
memorize it and portray?
Madam President, members of
They
the
cut her
board,
mic
staff,
off.
this
It's like they
we
do to
have
me
the
on
Regent
YouTube, guys.
Superintendent speak first.
Thank you so
We
much,
are on
Dr. Jara. It seems like you may have some concerns, and while we're not allowed to engage back and forth in a dialogue, we would absolutely like to make sure that your concerns are addressed.
No, they don't. They want to
Material,
dismiss
just
her.
finish what I was going to say.
Please.
My daughter was forced to engage in the portrayal of this blank activity by her teacher. We have pornography laws regarding minors in this state, and many of those were violated because of this assignment. I don't have time to name all of the laws that were broken that day, but one example, NRS 200-710. It
Exactly,
states it is a
Solomon.
crime when a person knowingly uses, encourages, entices, or permits a minor to be the subject of a sexual portrayal in a performance. In one of my meetings with school administration, they blamed my daughter for not saying no to the assignment. They blamed my daughter, who is the victim. Teachers are in a position of power. Educators must understand the laws about sexual abuse, and that is where I am hoping you will help. If I had not reached out to a local parent advocacy group, Power to Parent, for help, I may never have gotten a meeting with the regional superintendent and truly feel this incident would have been brushed under the rug. However, this meeting went really well, and I now have some hope that corrective action will happen. My daughter thinks the world of the teacher and has raved about her, so it's
Sadly.
not that I want her to get fired. That would devastate my daughter. I don't want to make a horrible situation worse.
Well, wait
But
a
she
minute.
is struggling.
The teacher is just enforcing the policy of the mayor or the governor or George Soros, who pays them all. So it's not, kind of is the teacher's fault, because obviously she's not upholding her duty or oath as a teacher. But, just pull your kid out of the school, lady. Like, why would you allow your enemy, your political enemy, to brainwash your children? Malcolm X.
With this, I hope that you will reach out to me to let me know how you can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans, for taking time to come to the board meeting.
Okay, so hopefully you guys are liking the show so far. I mean, you can see that my traffic's being immensely throttled because of this topic. So just if you want to know, who controls things, look at who you can't talk about, right? Look at what you can't say. Now imagine if Kamala gets into power. She's already said she wants to silence anyone who goes against these teachers or what they're trying to do to your kids. And I'll show you some videos where she specifically says that. So just imagine how much worse it's going to get. Let's keep on going. This is a 4-minute video. This is really good.
You mentioned about Gavin Newsom. And about 4 weeks ago, and I read it, and I read a lot of in the media that it was Gavin trying to walk to the center to getting ready for presidential run, but he backed off a bill, a trans and parent notification bill. Were you involved in that? Were you lobbying on that? Can you unpack that? Because the narrative people heard
Rob,
that
can
I
you pull
read
up that bill
that I read was, oh, Gavin's running to the center. He wants to look like he's in the center, and he also, vetoed other bills about having, self-driving trucks were okay. And it's all about a centricist, but it sounds like your fingerprints are all over what he did. Can you unpack it?
Yeah, you're correct. We were fighting AB 957, which is a bill that would have forced judges to find that the health, safety, and welfare of a child, it's their best interest to support their transgender identity.
Against the parents.
Against the parents.
Exactly
And the
what
reason,
happened.
I mean, let's be clear. I'm really happy that Newsom vetoed that, and it was a huge win because this is what they were trying to do, and most people miss this. They looked at the bill and said, this is just in divorce.
Welcome,
so in
Jeff.
divorce, they're going to favor the
Thank you,
parent
brother.
who affirms the child. But when you tie those 3 words, health, safety, and welfare, to supporting a trans identity, now you just made it child abuse. So parents like me could have had my child taken because I wouldn't transition my child.
considered child
so it was
abuse.
bigger than that. It's actually, the opposite of Texas. It would have been penalizing parents who would not transition their kids. What Gavin Newsom knows and what I know is that when there is a divorce situation and there's one parent supporting the transgender identity and one that's not, the parent who is supporting the trans identity always gets the kid in California. That's
true.
already happening.
Yep.
This bill was going to add to it to make it, child abuse.
So if you're disingenuous, that's your custody hack.
Exactly. So he was, they were trying to go through the back door. I know Scott Wiener. Scott Wiener was the author of this bill. I watched this guy. I studied this guy. I know what they're doing. I read everything in California. But let me just talk about one bill that Gavin Newsom did approve because it's the scariest bill I've ever seen. It's AB 665. What this bill does is it's state-sanctioned kidnapping. 12-year-olds. If you're 12 or older, these kids can run away to a state-run facility, residential facility, with no claim of abuse on their parents. For no reason, for any reason, they can run away and they can get housed away from their
Wait, you call
parents.
it state-sanctioned kidnapping?
Yes.
So really quick, I'm seeing a lot of comments, and this is what I've been telling you guys. Make sure to check out my shorts too. Clearly, Chili DeCastro and I both, people aren't able to like our stuff. They're not able to comment on our videos. And so this is just another example. By the way, I own stock in Google. So I plan on bringing a shareholders derivative lawsuit against them for doing this if we can prove it. So if you can show me Dadpool 2022 that you're not able to share the live, or you can show me video images of not being able to like or comment on stuff, I want to see that because that is totally unfair. Again, all I'm doing is just sharing another side, another position that parents are upset about. I'm not sitting here condemning anyone. I'm just sharing information and telling you my legal perspective. And it's crazy. So if you're not able to share stuff, if you're not able to like or subscribe to my channel or my videos, I'd like to see video proof of that. And again, because my traffic's being throttled so much, look, super chats are appreciated. Buy a copy of my ebook, an ebook version of this for $19.99. Go to my channel. Anything you can do to support the channel until we can take legal action against this company to try to get my channel restored to where it should be. I mean, these rules and regulations they have, give me a bunch of ones if you think they're absurd. They're so vague and ambiguous that they could just be used against you like that. And there's nothing you can do about it. So, it's getting out of control, guys. And I definitely could use some help. We need to form parallel systems. I saw another individual who said, look, I'm a single dad. I work. How do you expect me to homeschool my kids? And brother, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know this. If we can form parallel systems, we can find a way to come up with a solution for you. I believe that school vouchers would be a great idea, where you could take a voucher and take your kid to a school that doesn't have all this forced identity politics hoisted upon your child. But I believe that we have to form parallel systems in order to do that. I believe that maybe you need to leave the state. Maybe you need to go to a free state where your children aren't being co-parented by your enemy who disagrees with you and calls you hateful for not wanting your child to go along with their identity politics. So, but stay on my channel until it gets banned, because I think I'm the only person out there who's a voice of reason in the desert.
Because the state is allowing a 12-year-old for any reason to take off from their family and go live in a residential facility.
Did this approve?
Yes. So Gavin Newsom signed that into law. That is a terribly frightening bill. So in the world of trans, it goes something like this. You've got a 7th grader who goes into their school counselor and says, I'm trans and my parents won't support it. Okay. What, would you like to stay in a residential facility? Would you like to stay away from your bigoted, hateful family? We'll send you to this facility, and off the kid goes.
And you said let me interrupt you. For people listening, between the lines here, you said, and there does not have to be any record of abuse or something that the child has reported, or maybe got a family member to help report a parent. 0 on record, they can walk in and do this.
0. So this is the blowing up of the family, and this is taking
Destruction
the
of
child
the
when
family
the child
unit.
is 12 years old.
And this is the Communist Plan for America, the Cloward Piven strategy espoused by Obama and Hillary Clinton, that you have to destroy the nuclear family in order to bring about a globalist one world government. That's the key component. And it's exactly what Nazi Germany did. It's exactly what Soviet Union did. It's exactly what's happening right now, in my opinion, in California.
We know what happens when they go to these residential facilities.
What can parents do to fight that?
Well, there's going to be a lawsuit against that bill. So I need people who have kids that are ages 12 to 17 to reach out to me, because we need to line up the
too,
plaintiffs.
Mallory.
We need to fight that
Love you,
bill
Mallory. Thank you for your
quickly in the
comment.
courts before 12-year-olds can just walk out the door and parents don't see them again.
Just wild. Yeah. And, I see comments, what about Trump, the what about stuff. Look, I don't care about Trump. I'm a libertarian. I care about freedom. I care about the family. And if there's a way we can form parallel systems and get off the nipple of the nanny state, we don't need the government. We don't need Trump's nuclear family. We can form our own parallel systems, guys, and we can do it on our own. Now, Benjai does make a comment that the National Socialist Party was all about duty to family, country, and especially to protect the young. Well, that's true. What I'm getting at is that is true. That was their policy. But if the parent disagreed with the state, the parent was considered to be an enemy of the state, and the children were encouraged to turn in their parents to the government. So in no way, Benjai, am I trying to say that they were encouraging transgender ideology or telling boys they're girls and girls that they're boys. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the totalitarian system that they operated under. And by the way, National Socialism was just a form of communism. Remember, Adolf Hitler was a member of the Communist Party, and he attended the funeral of a high party member, but he was a nationalist communist. He didn't support what he called Jewish communism, Bolshevism. He supported nationalist German communism. And ultimately, the slogans and even the colors of their flags and banners were borrowed from the communist system. So what you've been taught in the Marxist education system is that National Socialists were right wing, but they weren't. National Socialism were actually National Socialists, and people say, yeah, but they didn't nationalize the jobs. They had private business. No, they did nationalize all the businesses. You couldn't be in business in Nazi Germany unless you were a Nazi party official. And just like they had McCoy and Gurevich making the MiG fighters, just because the name's McCoy and Gurevich after one of the guys who runs the business doesn't mean that the government didn't own the business. but that's a conversation for another time. Don't hate me for knowing my history, guys. I just am a critical thinker, and I don't believe anything that the educational industrial complex says. I do my own research. I'll share some videos with you guys later about the fact that Hitler absolutely was a member of the Communist Party and that he believed in communism, but he wanted a German form of communism. Watch this video.
Children better than you. Governor Newsom celebrated as they finally signed into law California AB 1955, which is ironically called the Safety Act. The law prohibits disclosing a student's gender identity, sexual orientation, or gender expression to their parent or guardian without that student's permission. In the hierarchy of family,
Right,
California has made it clear. Government, teachers, children, parents. If your child is considering removing vital body parts or doing permanent damage to themselves,
Crazy.
don't worry.
Insane.
The state will take care of it. Shut up and stay out of the way. You're just the parent.
So, by the way, the real winners here is the medical industrial complex. They're making millions off of this because if they can get transgenderism declared a mental illness, now it can be covered under Obamacare and millions will flow to them. So it's the doctors' unions and the nurses' unions who are behind the money that is pushing for these policies. So parents beware. Parents beware. If you love your children, you will flee California. You will flee California if you love your children.
Be clear, any government that thinks they know your kids better than you is lying. There should be a rule. If they can't perform the basic purpose of their organization, like teach your kids to read, they should not be teaching your kids
Bingo.
fringe sexuality.
Bingo.
They can't figure out how to teach your kids basic math. How are they going to teach you about gender? They're your kids, not their kids.
Your kids.
You made them. You raised them.
Amen.
You are responsible for them.
That's right.
If anyone is going to indoctrinate my kids, it's going to be me.
Yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Man, God, people like that motivate the crap out of me. That dude right there, I wish he was on my channel. I'd have him on as a guest all the time. Give me a bunch of ones for that concerned parent. By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, but you know how these woke policies are being engaged now, you know, because Asians do so well in school, they're trying to say that Asians are actually white racists and they shouldn't have the woke affirmative action policies applied to them because merit is clearly racist. That's the new narrative that we're hearing from Sacramento, that if you support the concept of merit, in other words, you shouldn't get a trophy for participating, that means that you're a racist. I mean, it's just unbelievable, guys, but it's just really what's going on.
Morning, Daisha Hargrave is having a hard time making sense of what happened.
Stop resisting.
Being thrown out of a school board meeting, slapped in handcuffs, and arrested.
I just kept thinking, this is really happening. This is really, he's really doing this.
Speaking exclusively to NBC News, the young middle school teacher is now known by millions across the country.
It's sad that a woman has to be
Right, Roger.
removed from a board meeting for people to start caring.
I feel like it's a slap in the face.
Many are calling Hargrave a hero for standing up and questioning her superintendent's $30,000 raise when she and her fellow teachers have not seen a pay increase in almost a decade.
How are you?
But why do any of these teachers deserve a pay raise when they just keep lowering standards and the kids are just coming out of school like brainless? I mean, when I've tried to hire even graduates from law school to work for my firm, they don't know grammar. They don't know how to type. Like they spell, like, for example, the word there, like they are, THEY''re. They'll put THEIR. And they're putting together these legal briefs. They're unintelligible. And they don't write cursive, so they can't read cursive writing. They can't read our founding documents. I mean, it's just like a race to the bottom, but yet these teachers want more money. You got to be kidding me. I mean, guys, find a way to homeschool your kids. That's all I can tell you. If you want your kids to perform and be successful in life, you're going to have to homeschool them. I mean, to me, what I'm hearing from a lot of parents is that the college system is basically a political re-education camp, and they're terrified to send their kids there now because they're not getting educated. They're getting politically brainwashed into supporting like the Kamala tampon Tim ideology, where you answer questions with a statement. Just nonsense. And that's becoming accepted. Have any of you guys or gals seen the movie Idiocracy? Take a look at that movie and then watch this video again, and you'll be like, holy crap, Mike's right.
Going to take that money because it's basically taking our pockets of teachers.
Stop right now.
I don't support our people getting arrested. I do not. However, a person has to follow the rules.
Superintendent Jerome Pio telling his side of the story, saying his district ranks 6th in performance, while among the superintendents, his salary is 57th.
She was questioning if you deserve a raise. Can't use this better in the classroom. You can always use more money in the classroom. But when is a good time for a superintendent to get a raise?
Since the contentious meeting, Pio says he, his family, and his
Right,
staff
Benjai?
have been bombarded with death threats and obscenities.
My sisters, my family, we're all educators. For those threats against them, more people were hurt. It is not fair to our families, anyone's families, anyone in Vermilion Parish.
Hargrave says she's only seen the video of her arrest twice, finding it too disturbing to watch.
And the realization that my students were going to see the video, and that I had to go to work the next day. And I teach 5th and 6th graders, so I wasn't sure how they would feel about it.
But she says they were okay.
They're fine, so I'm fine.
A teachable moment.
I'm hoping for teachers, people
So
outside of education, to have a voice. Show up. You don't have to say anything. Just show up. Just do something.
Daisha tells us she would like an apology from the superintendent and the deputy who are.
All right, so let's keep going. Okay, so now we're getting to the meat. Now we're getting to what's really going on, guys. Now we're getting to what's really going on. So this guy here, I believe, should be on trial for high treason. I'm sure you guys know who he is. DHS guy, the guy who runs the show. Let's listen to what this guy has to say.
Horrific hate speech of all types propagated on online platforms. That deplorable speech has an impact on people's lives, and it is also a motivating force for people to do harm. And it has got to stop. And it is our work in the Department of Homeland Security to combat hate in all its forms.
And direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms, because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy.
We are seeing.
Actually, we're a constitutional republic, and all of our founding fathers were universally against any form of democracy as destructive. So democracy is when 2 wolves and a sheep show up for dinner and they get to decide what's on the menu. In a republic, 2 wolves and a well-armed sheep show up for dinner and decide what's going to be on the menu. And so this constant throwing around the term democracy, that's another logical fallacy that's been spread by the leftist press, the lamestream media. We are a constitutional republic, and what that means in a nutshell is the rights of the individual come first. You cannot have minority rights until the rights of the individual are protected. Now, this guy here is behind using our tax dollars to fund non-governmental organizations, millions of dollars through FEMA as well, 600 million on the FEMA website that they've admitted to use non-governmental organizations to go into countries down in South and Central America, a lot of communist countries like Nicaragua or Venezuela, where they've emptied their prisons, and bring those people into our country. And we know that what they're doing insidiously is trying to use the US Census to redistrict everything politically. And so they're dumping these people into swing states. People are getting attacked and hurt and injured by these people. A lot of them are criminals. And this guy is the guy who's primarily responsible for that. And what's their solution? Silence everybody. Don't let people talk about it, because that's hateful. Here, let's listen to them again. Let's read between the lines and listen to what they're really saying.
Horrific hate speech of all types propagated on online platforms. That deplorable speech has an impact on people's lives, and it is also a motivating force for people to do harm. And it has got to stop. And it is our work in the Department of Homeland Security to combat hate in all its forms.
And direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms, because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy.
So in other words, it's hateful for you to say things that we disagree with politically. And because Elon Musk is now allowing people to have a voice, because before the radical left controlled CNN, PMSNBC, CBS, ABC, everybody knows that. They controlled Twitter with their San Francisco values. They definitely still control Facebook and Instagram. Now, all of a sudden, a little tiny leak in their dam of disinformation and control over the narrative has broken. And now they're panicked because people are starting to wake up. So there's woke people that they lead, and then there's the awakened people. And I'm not saying that I lead the awakened, but I'm certainly a voice in the desert standing up for the awakened people who want to have their freedom restored. And they do not like people like me, and they want to silence me. You know, the thought police want to shut me up, guys. And so far, I don't think that I've said anything that's hateful. I've simply said, look, I support people who are of a different sexual orientation to do what they want to do in the privacy of their own home. And I hope that they support my right in the privacy of my home to take my children to church and teach them about God and about respecting their elders. And I hope that they would respect also my right to not have them force that onto their lifestyles onto my children in a public school. And in return, I won't bring holy Bibles into their public school library. So they don't bring their Hustler magazine pornographic material into the school library and force that on my kid. And I promise not to bring my religious beliefs into the school library and force it on their kids. Right? Is that fair, guys? Is there anything I said just now that sounds hateful? Give me a bunch of ones if you think that sounded like a reasonable ideology. Give me a bunch of twos if you think that I'm a racist, bigot, and homophobe, because that's what they'll try to do. They'll try to gaslight you and say that that's what you are if you disagree with their plan for America. And now here's another example of what's going on. Elon Musk. He was approved by the U.S. Air Force to be able to make these launches from California. But these California woke officials have rejected his rocket launches, citing his ex posts, guys. They're so upset that he's engaging in free speech that goes against what they want, just like George Orwell. It's an Orwellian dystopian nightmare that we're living in, guys. A nightmare. They literally are refusing him the ability to launch his rockets. They were rejected by the state commission this week, citing his political posts on X. I mean, are you guys kidding me? I mean, does this not sound like something out of the Soviet Union? I mean, are you guys kidding me? Are you guys joking? Are you guys insane to be pushing this kind of garbage? Oh, and listen, Miss Pizzagate herself feels the same way. Let's listen to what Miss Pizzagate has to say about it. Hold on. Can you guys see Pizzagate, woman? Let's listen to what Miss Pizzagate has to say.
If the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just.
Did you hear that? So she admits, it was what do they call that? A Freudian slip. She admits that before, her party had total control over all the media. I mean, even Fox News is controlled opposition, right? Like, they're not allowed to say anything bad about George Soros, the guy who funds this stuff, or BlackRock, because BlackRock, I think, owns like 20% of Fox, I think. Fact check me, guys. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So she's basically admitting we're going to lose total control. They want total control. The problem is with freedom, guys, is once the dam is broken and freedom is out there, it's very hard to plug the dam again. Let's listen to what a lot of people call Killery. And by the way, I've checked out the emails on Wikipedia, and I do believe that Wikipedia is not Russian disinformation. I believe everything that I've seen on Wikipedia is valid. And I do believe that she is one of these people who, in her ilk, are the people who hung out at Epstein Island. And I believe all that stuff. And when you read the stuff, you'll be horrified. You'll be horrified about what her and Podesta were exchanging on that channel. But let's hear her one more time about her sadness about her political party losing total control over the narrative, which is basically what she's saying.
That if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate.
Well, the problem is her party already controls all those channels. It's X, the one that she's worried about, but she's couching it that way to make it look like she's not targeting someone. But she's not a very good lawyer. She never was. So I'm able to dissect what she's really saying. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree with my interpretation of what she's saying. Give me a bunch of twos if you think I'm a radical right-wing extremist, bigot, homophobe, blah, blah, blah.
And monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm. That if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm. That if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or...
Hold on, I got another one. Hold on, guys. Just give me 1 second. I started another video by mistake. So I'm going to have to start it. So you heard what she had to say. So let me show you who's behind all this. So this is a massive global effort started by the United Nations and now being handled by the World Economic Forum, of which Bill Gates is the major stakeholder. And what they want is rule by elite. And they want the major billionaire stakeholders to decide your lives. They want to decide what you can eat debugs, yeah, live in a 15-minute city, decide what you put in your body, what you can eat, fake meat. And so the World Economic Forum is the primary funder, along with George Soros, behind all these initiatives. And so now let's listen to, so their primary thing they need to control is speech and thought. The thought police. That's why I always say to you guys, we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Let's listen to what this harbinger of, I believe, just Nazism repackaged has to say.
Because we cannot accept that decisions that have a far-reaching impact on our democracy are taken by computer programs alone. We want it clearly laid down that internet companies take responsibility for the manner in which they disseminate, promote, and remove content.
In other words, they have to say what she wants them to say. Watch it again.
What is illegal offline should be illegal online too. And we want the platforms to be transparent about it.
Well, that's because they don't have freedom of speech in Europe, right? So what she's saying, what's illegal online should be illegal offline. But in America, we do have freedom of speech. At least we do for now. As long as you have X, you actually do have a platform that allows pretty much maximum speech. But all the other platforms like Instagram and Facebook, if you say anything that goes against their political narrative, they will shadow ban you and block your traffic, like they're doing right now on my YouTube channel. Listen to
how their algorithms work. Because we cannot accept that decisions that have a far-reaching impact on our democracy are taken by computer programs alone.
Sure.
We want it clearly laid down that internet companies take responsibility for the manner in which they disseminate, promote, and remove content.
Oh, gosh. We're living in a crazy time, guys. Bunch of billionaires.
We need to contain this immense power.
Yeah, the immense power of free thought. I mean, read between what she's saying is having the ability to be a free thinker is immense power. We need to contain it. We need to control people like me who are capable of free thinking. Think about that for a minute, guys. Look, I believe in maximum freedom. If you have a different ideology, I want you to say it. I want to hear it. I want to know what you're all about. I don't believe that you should be silenced or be called names like a bigot or something because you disagree with my philosophy. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. We're going to serve what we believe is right for our family. But how dare this despicable woman or Hillary or anyone else who's a political person dare to tell me they need to control my thoughts, because essentially that's what she's doing. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that.
The big digital companies, because we want the values we cherish in the offline world also to be respected online.
So misinformation like the lies our government told us about the Gulf of Tonkin massacre, misinformation like the lie that at least 40 former CIA and active CIA officials told us about the Hunter Biden laptop really being Russian disinformation. If it wasn't for X, we wouldn't have even had any of that. The Twitter files exposed that. This is what they're scared of, guys. They're terrified that now people know that they've been pushing a false narrative of lies and deception on us, and they want to recontrol us and get us back under that jackboot of disinformation. Remember, your enemies will accuse you of what they're doing. And this is precisely, in my opinion, what's happened here. Now we know that Donald Trump requested that the National Guard show up on January 6th. And that request allegedly, I just saw the video, allegedly was denied by the person, the sergeant at arms who's in charge of security, who happened to be at the other party. That just came out in a video today that I shared on my post profile. We also know that there were a lot of FBI officials allegedly fomenting violence. And we've seen the videos of these people being invited into the Capitol and then later arrested for trespass. So, if you're a critical thinker, take a look at this stuff. It's pretty unbelievable. They're trying to accuse people of misinformation and disinformation who are simply doing research and sharing what they found.
The storming of the Capitol came as a shock to me. I mean, we are always quick to say democracy and values, they are part of our DNA, and that's true. But we must nurture our democracy every day and defend our institutions against the corrosive power of hate speech, of disinformation, fake news, and incitement to violence.
Yeah, disinformation like these fact checkers who are partisan leftists who put fake fact check labels on people's stuff so they can be banned from social media. I mean, I've read some of these fact checks. They're ridiculous. They'll cite something that the article doesn't even say and then claim the article is false. And then you'll get a warning from Facebook, right? Saying independent fact checkers have decided that you're engaged in misinformation and you're going to be banned for 90 days, right? Or your traffic's going to be throttled. Then they'll send a message to all your followers that you're engaged in misinformation. That's called defamation, by the way, guys. That's called defamation, libel, and slander. What they're doing when they're saying something that you said is false and then trying to blame it on an independent fact checker that they paid. That's why they want to dumb down our education system. They do not want people capable of critical thinking like me. They don't want young kids capable of dissecting these logical fallacies that are being hoisted upon them. They do not want that. They want morons, basically, in my opinion.
And in a world where polarizing opinions are the loudest, it is a short step from crude conspiracy.
Polarizing opinions are what we need. We need to have as much differing opinions as possible, guys. We need to be electing politicians who delete laws, not pass more laws. We need to have utmost freedom of speech and utmost ideas. What she's saying is we need to have someone under the jackboot of Davos.
Theories to the death of a police officer.
Working to regulate or shut it down. That's what they just want to shut it down. What they're looking for is like an NPR or a BBC that's partially government funded so the government can control the narrative. That's all they want. I mean, look at what's happened to the BBC. I mean, I've got friends who live in Ireland and London, and they say that their neighbors are a bunch of jihadists. trying to overthrow their country. Churches are burning down. You don't see mosques burning down. I mean, these people are terrified. They're all moving to like Slovakia and Poland, where they have secure borders and a traditional European lifestyle. It's unbelievable what's happening to the world, guys. And it's all started with these Davos guys, these World Economic Forum guys, and all that money goes right to Gavin Newsom, to the guy in Canada, and unfortunately to both political parties, Republicans and Democrats. My understanding is the governor of Texas is even a member of the World Economic Forum. And guess where he's bussing people, guys? He's bussing people to swing states. I mean, think about it. I mean, it's none dare call it conspiracy, right? So an assumption close. How do you think we should regulate? I think we shouldn't regulate at all. So they'll ask you a leading question. How do you think we should? Why regulate it at all? The only time there should be any issue is when you've got somebody online who's saying, hey, let's go kill someone, or hey, let's show kids this pornographic material. In my opinion, that other than that, why is it so important for these politicians to interfere with what we want to talk about? Why? Can anybody tell me in the sidebar? So right there, the enemy of the world, the enemy of freedom is right there. WEF. That's it right there, guys. Now let's listen to this other guy here. Let's listen to what Tampon Tim has to say. This is a guy who puts tampon machines in men's restrooms. I mean, give me a freaking break, guys.
There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter.
Why not?
The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out.
We've only had one source for the last 60 years, and it was his political party that was behind it. And now finally X shows a little bit of freedom and they're terrified and they want to regulate it.
Disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just,
Our First Amendment stands as a major block. Well, that was the whole idea, guys. That's why we have a constitutional republic, and morons like this guy are supposed to be bound by the chains of the Constitution.
Hammer it out of existence. So
we're going to have to figure out how we rein in our media environment so that you can't just spew disinformation and misinformation. It's one thing to have differing opinions, but it's another thing entirely to just
misinformation, like the Hunter Biden laptop story, that 20% of Democrats, based on what I've read, said they would not have voted for Joe Biden had they known that the laptop was not Russian disinformation. Is that what she's talking about? Is that what she's talking about, guys? I don't know. Can you guys tell me? Give me a bunch of ones if you think that's what she's talking about.
Just say things that are false. And so that's something that we're looking into.
All right. So the show is going a lot longer than I thought. If you guys want me to keep going, give me a bunch of ones. I'm willing to keep going. I'll do this one.
Complaint received by House Judiciary Committee Ranking Member Jim Jordan alleges Attorney General Merrick Garland either lied or didn't know in his October 21st testimony that his office had directed the FBI, using the terrorist nabbing Patriot Act of 2001, to spy on and potentially charge school parents for expressing outrage over the teaching of critical race theory and other radical curricula.
The Justice Department supports and defends the First Amendment right of parents to complain as vociferously as they wish. I can't imagine any circumstance in which the Patriot Act would be used in the circumstances of parents complaining about their children, nor can I imagine a circumstance where they would be labeled as domestic terrorism.
Liar.
The whistleblower document was dated October 20th, the day before those Garland remarks. It is a directive from the Criminal Investigative and Counterterrorism Divisions of the FBI, announcing the creation of a so-called threat tag named Edu
I agree,
Officials.
Roger.
The memo says, we ask that your offices apply the threat tag to investigations and assessments of threats specifically directed against school board administrators, board members, teachers, and staff. The directive adds that the purpose of the threat tag is to, quote, help scope this threat on a national level and provide an opportunity for comprehensive analysis of the threat picture.
Well, he either lied to us or he doesn't know. Either one is bad for the country, bad for justice in America. At this moment, the FBI is, not maybe, is treating parents as terrorist threats. And the Attorney General came in front of the committee and said just the opposite. And you just played the clip. He said, I cannot imagine any circumstance where we treat parents or we give them the label of domestic terrorists. But in fact, the day before, as you pointed out, the day before, an email gets sent out to agents across this country saying just the opposite. Say spy on parents, give them this threat tag, categorize, label parents.
Critics maintain that Jordan and other Republicans are lumping together vocal, engaged parents like these with others who may be posing serious and real threats of physical or violent harm. But there's already evidence that some U.S. attorneys are interpreting the directive in the broadest possible sense
American. I
to
love
monitor
it.
parents expressing their constitutional rights.
And one of the suggestions made by your U.S. attorney is parents can be prosecuted for repeated telephone calls. Not threatening anyone, just on the theory that repeated telephone calls could be harassment. Really?
Senator, I haven't seen that memorandum. I've tried to express as clearly as I can here.
I heard you, General, but this is one of your U.S. attorneys.
Senator, you're thinking again, I haven't seen.
Isn't that special?
As incendiary as the whistleblower document is, even before its appearance, some Republicans had made up their mind about Attorney General Garland, the Obama choice for Supreme Court, whose nomination was sidelined by then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
This testimony, your directive, your performance is shameful.
That's not.
Thank God you are not on the Supreme Court. You should resign in disgrace, Judge.
In a letter to Garland, Representative Jordan invites Garland to amend his testimony as to whether the department has used its counterterrorism resources for investigating, tracking, or prosecuting threats relating to school board meetings.
Republicans also want Garland to testify again. That's a call that the Democratic majority is unlikely to make, and another reason why congressional Republicans are salivating at the prospect of regaining control of both houses in the midterms. Doug McKelway for the Washington Examiner.
All right, so you guys kind of see what's going on. It's pretty out of control. We've got public officials lying under oath like it's no big deal, and there's no repercussions. But we know from whistleblowers that parents who supported the right of parents to know what their children are being taught were absolutely targeted by the FBI in unison with state officials in California. Absolutely, that was happening. And so it just amazes me. And they want to, their solution is, we need to shut Elon Musk up. We need to silence X. We need to stop people from disseminating this truthful information because it's hateful. That's their solution. Here, let me show you this other one. This is going to blow your mind.
Thanks. Not a surprise where the city is being hit with a federal lawsuit accusing it of violating the First Amendment rights of a citizen. All of this stems from a city council meeting in Surprise last month when police arrested a woman during the public comment period. 12 News journalist Chase Golightly was at tonight's city council meeting and has more on the new suit.
This federal lawsuit comes the same day the council held its first meeting following the incident, where nearly a dozen people spoke out against what you are about to see. It was at this surprise city council meeting in August when Rebecca Massey was arrested.
Do not put your hands on me.
She was speaking against a proposed pay raise for the city attorney during public comment when surprise Mayor Skip Hall said she was violating city policy.
This is your warning, okay?
A warning for what?
A warning for attacking the city attorney personally.
This is all factual information.
It doesn't matter.
When she refused, saying it's her First Amendment right, the mayor asked for her to be removed from the building.
In front of my 10-year-old daughter, you're going to escort me out for expressing my First Amendment rights.
That concerned us greatly because every American and every Arizonan has a First Amendment right to be heard by their government.
It caught the attention of Connor Fitzpatrick, an attorney with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, that is now suing Surprise, Mayor Hall, and the police officer who arrested Massey, claiming they violated her First and Fourth Amendment rights.
Every American has a First Amendment right to make their views known to their elected officials, and that's all Miss Massey was doing.
Fitzpatrick says the problem comes down to this policy that everyone who participates in public comment has to sign, stating that speakers cannot complain against any city employee. Fitzpatrick claims the First Amendment trumps city policy.
That's viewpoint discrimination, and that's unconstitutional.
Then during Tuesday's regular city council meeting, it was packed, and every person who spoke during public comment was against the mayor.
I stand with her. You need to come up with something where this just doesn't happen again. It's an embarrassment.
Even going as far as saying the mayor should lose his job because of this.
Unfortunately, think that you've already ruined your legacy. I hope you have.
The city council did not address the lawsuit at tonight's meeting, and a city spokesperson said they do not comment on pending litigation. We're in Surprise tonight. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
All right, Chase, thank you. And there's still much more to come tonight on 12 News at 10, including the very latest on 2 Phoenix police officers who were shot in the...
So guys, I'm going to be honest with you. So I have another attorney that I'm working with that I'm texting back and forth. Well, so this is the thing, guys. So I'm doing these shows. They're not making me any money, and they're probably not making me a lot of friends. Most lawyers are really far left, and they hate people like me. But I just feel I'm a libertarian. I believe in maximum freedom, and I want parents and I want everybody out there to know that they have a choice, and that if people like what you just saw, Garland and all these other like Waltz, they want to silence us. They want to declare everything we say is hate speech. That's not the America that I want to grow up in. I want my kids to grow up in. That's not the America that I think your kids should have to grow up in. I believe in maximum freedom, maximum speech. And for some of these people, these European thinkers to come along and declare everything we say is hate speech is absurd. So I'm trying to make some money here on my phone while I'm sharing this with you. So bear with me because I'm not going to abandon you guys. I love my audience and those few super chats and those and the stuff that you guys sent me today. And hopefully you'll buy my book as well. You'll buy the digital version of my ebook, My Journey to Becoming a Practicing Lawyer with No Law Degree or Undergrad. Hopefully you'll go to my YouTube channel and buy that book because that helps me support my family. And if you really love me, you'll do it as family and friends. So I don't have to pay the PayPal fee because on my honor as a Marine, I'm going to send you your digital version. And I'll get it to you forthwith. But let's get into a couple more videos because it's just, this is so wild. I want to share this stuff with you. It's so important.
At times so heated, police had to step in. We're talking about city council today and a vote to spend $51 million on helping migrants here in Chicago. CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kosloff was there for all the action, and Dana, strong feelings all around.
Yeah, Erica, and for many different reasons, among them the fact that this $51 million approved today is only a short-term fix, and more
Tiffany, I'll
money
get your
will be
version
needed in
out
just weeks.
ASAP.
We cannot continue to falsely pit communities against one another.
Deep emotional wounds coming to the surface.
As Black people who have been hurt continuously by the city and country it loves,
yep,
it ain't our responsibility to take care of everybody else.
Amen, sister.
And anger.
We don't want to have to recall anybody. We don't want to have to protest anybody, but we are not going to be ignored, Brandon. Mayor Johnson.
Many in Chicago's Black community and the city council speaking out against spending.
Blacks are overwhelmingly starting to support Donald Trump. They do not like the idea that illegal immigrants are getting free food, free hotels, free everything, free phones to come up here to get involved in the process. They don't like it. They're pissed. And can you blame them? I mean, come on, guys. I mean, they're Americans. I don't care what color. They're freaking Americans. We should be standing tall for these people in these minority communities who are being replaced.
$51 million to house migrants, asking when will the help for them finally become a reality.
And it cannot be put on the backs of the residents of Chicago without showing them that they're getting something out of this.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, presiding over his second full city council meeting, had to ask for calm more than once.
With a sergeant of arms.
Yeah, who's paying this guy, right? Who's paying this guy off, right? We know that all these politicians are bought and paid for. You can tell by the way they're voting. No true American would ever allow illegal aliens to come and replace the local population unless they're getting something out of it. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that these people are engaged in what I believe is treason.
Please restore some order.
Police also intervening at one point to allow the meeting to proceed. Ultimately, the measure passed with 34 votes. Many who voted to approve the money, like 49th Ward Alderwoman Maria Haddon, call this an immediate crisis that needs attention. But, she says, so do concerns of the city's Black residents.
Why are Black people in Chicago and some communities so angry? Why is all this kind of anti-immigrant sentiment coming up? And I want to explain to folks, it's because if
it's not anti-immigrant, these are illegal aliens. They're not supposed to be in our country. There's a legal immigration process. They're letting criminals, there's child trafficking going on allegedly. I mean, this has got to stop, guys. This is ridiculous.
we cared as much about Black people and had over the decades as we do about everyone else, we wouldn't be here.
But the money from a 2021 budget surplus will only last 1 month. Many alderpeople say it's time for a long-term plan and some state and federal help. With that, should taxpayers be concerned?
I think we should all be concerned anytime we're having to utilize this level of resources on a temporary situation, especially with not a real sight of federal support coming.
Hours after the meeting, Mayor Brandon Johnson offered no specifics.
We're going to have to dig in a little bit deeper in the city of Chicago, but that's going to be a collaborative approach.
Yeah, we're going to have to dig in a little bit deeper. This guy lives in a gated home. He's making millions of dollars. The guy reminds me of Obama. Same crap. Oh, what is he doing for his people? If you want to talk about identity politics, right? What is he doing for his community? Nothing. He's being paid off by people from Davos. This guy doesn't, in my opinion, I don't think he cares about anything but money and power.
As for a timeline for a long-term plan to deal with this issue, there isn't one.
Of course not. As ordained by the WEF. And so now here's what's going on. There are some law enforcement officials who are getting a little pissed off, and it's happening worldwide. And here's an example of what's happening. Police are starting to stand up for the locals. Unbelievable, right?
Styles channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On May 6th, 2024, independent citizen video journalist and First Amendment advocate Jen Coombs began to film in a parking lot outside the county clerk's office in Montgomery County, Tennessee. As she was filming the office's drive-through vehicle registration windows, she was approached by a security guard who informed her that she could not film on the property without permission. When Ms. Coombs would not answer his questions about what she was doing, the security guard called to request that a deputy be dispatched to remove Ms. Coombs. After the security guard placed the call, Ms. Coombs continued to film and walked in front of the Clarksville Montgomery County Public Library, which was in the same complex as the county clerk's office. Deputy Evans of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office responded to the call, and the interaction that followed was captured on his body camera.
Hey, sir, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm scared for my safety of this guy.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm here to do official business.
Okay.
And I'm exercising my First Amendment right. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, let's get on the road.
Okay. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
The security.
Right.
I'm not breaking any laws.
Right. So I mean, you're just going around filming?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a citizen review journalist. This is what I do with government officials. And I'm here on official business. I want to check into the tax maps, stuff like that. And I did film by the DMV because that's something new. I've never seen that before. Not breaking any laws, sir. And I'm not giving you my ID either.
Okay.
Because Tennessee is not a stop an ID state.
Okay.
Unless I'm being arrested for something, then I have to give you my ID.
Right now you're not being arrested.
Okay.
You're not detained. You're free to go.
Okay.
She's going to be escorted off the property, though. It's against the rules here to film without express permission. And for me to ask her what her purpose is here and her telling me it's none of my business, well, that's incorrect.
Right.
So she's not allowed to film here unless you have explicit permission from the facilities engineering manager. Those are the rules here. This is county government property. This is not public property, ma'am.
Government is public property.
No, ma'am, it is not. I'm sorry, but you cannot film here without permission.
I don't need anybody's permission to exercise my
Please
First
escort this
Amendment
lady
right.
off my property.
Yeah, give me just a second.
Can I talk to your supervisor?
Probably not.
I want to talk to your supervisor because I'm here to do official business with public records.
Okay. Give me just a sec. So, security guard wants this lady kicked out of here because he said she can't film here without permission. Yeah. She's asking for a supervisor. I'm like, look, you don't need one. I'll just talk to the security guard and be like, look, man, per my supervisor, she's not hurting anything and not bothering anybody. She can film here. She's outside the library. Like filming outside of the parking lot? Yeah, she's just being an auditor. Yeah. And I don't know about her trying to get into, she can film inside the library, right? I just wanted to make sure, I'm right. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, because she's not doing anything wrong. Hey, so I just got off the phone with my lieutenant.
Yeah.
And I mean, he said she's good to film and
No, she's not. She's not. You don't know the rules here.
Right.
Okay, you need to check with somebody before you make that.
That's my lieutenant.
So this dork security guard is trying to tell a sworn law enforcement officer, no, she can't film on county public property because it's really private. I mean, really, guys? I mean, but I'll be honest, this is one of the few times that I've seen a law enforcement officer actually uphold and defend the Constitution. So give a bunch of ones to this jackboot thug officer for upholding and defending the right of a peaceable assembly and the right of government accountability operations. Give this guy a bunch of ones. Let's go.
Dude, I don't care. The rules here, I enforce. I want her off the property. She's not allowed to film. That's not up for debate. Period. I mean, do I have to call, Mayor Golden or something?
Maybe.
I mean, if you want. I mean, like I said, I just got off the phone with my lieutenant.
I don't care what your lieutenant said. He doesn't know the rules here either. Okay? She's not allowed to film without written consent from Mark, who is the facilities manager.
Right.
If I ask her what she's doing, I expect an answer. It's none of your business. I'll do whatever I want. I want her off the property. It's that simple. She's not allowed to do what she's doing. Your lieutenant, it's not his decision to make. These are the rules.
But I mean,
period. And I enforce them.
Hold on. So his lieutenant didn't make the decision. What made the decision is what's called the Constitution of the Republic of the United States and the state constitutions, which even had more. Most of the state constitutions recognized even more God-granted freedoms. So this guy right here, the security guard, you see he's packing heat. This guy should not be in this job. He is a power-hungry maniac. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree.
Problem with that, I'll if you're not going to back me up, then
it's not that I'm not wanting to.
Yeah,
like she's
not allowed to do what she's doing. You don't get it.
But I mean, legally, she's not.
Dude,
yes,
she is. This is government property,
right?
Not public.
Right.
Power monger here without written permission and consent. When I ask her what she's doing and she refuses to tell me, she's leaving property. That's all there is to it.
I mean, from my understanding, she's not breaking any laws.
Sir,
and according
you're not
to
getting
my
it.
lieutenant,
This is county government. Do you know what the rules are here at the county government facility here? Do you know what they are?
Anywhere open. I mean,
Sir,
it's open to the public.
Please, do you
but-
know what they are? Do you know what the rules here are?
No, not
I do.
here.
I do. That's my job. I'm telling you.
Policy isn't law. Okay, guys. And you see more and more of these government bureaucrats. I've just shown you a bunch of public meetings where they just come up with these arbitrary and capricious rules because they're holier than thou, because they got a bunch of money from George Soros. And now they got elected, right? Because they were able to brainwash some idiots to vote for them. And all of a sudden they get to make policy. But policy is not law. The supreme law of the land is called the Constitution. And the 14th Amendment makes the First Amendment apply to all the states, guys. Think about that. Listen to this guy. What a complete weirdo this guy is.
She's not allowed to do what she's doing, and I want her off property. Period. It's really simple.
Right.
She's not allowed to do what she's doing, and after giving me the hard time, I want her off the property.
Oh, yeah.
I've got other things to
We have a
tend
hard
to.
time. So
I mean, I'm not allowed to kick her out.
You most certainly are allowed to escort her off property. Yes, sir. I've had it done many times. Please don't tell me you can't do that.
But
That's incorrect.
But she's not doing anything
Oh
wrong.
my goodness, we're going to go over this again. Yes.
Wait a minute. So he's admitting that he has acted as what's called a state actor. In other words, he has called the police and had the police violate people's rights under color of law and color of official right. We actually have an admission by this guy, and he's an agent of this business or this agency that he works for, admitting that in the past he's also violated the rights of other people. So this could actually be used in discovery in a future civil rights lawsuit by other people who have been falsely trespassed by this weirdo. Isn't that amazing? That's why I love it that you come on my show, because I'm a lawyer, right? And so I can explain to you what the big picture is. This guy literally made an admission and confession, and he did it as an excited utterance. So it's coming into evidence, guys. This guy literally is setting up the people that he works for a big civil rights lawsuit. Give me a bunch of ones for this guy being so dumb.
She is violating the rules here at county government property. She's not allowed to do what she's doing.
Deputy Evans informs the security guard that he will not remove Miss Coombs from the property because she is not violating the law. And the security guard insists that she is not allowed to film in the parking lot. Now, we've discussed the right to film in public many times here on ATA, and I've included links in the description to several episodes where we discuss this issue in further detail. In general, it is important to understand that although both the Supreme Court and the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over Tennessee, have not directly addressed the First Amendment right to record, every federal circuit that has considered the issue has determined that the First Amendment protects the right to film the police, with some jurisdictions recognizing a more expansive right to film government officials or matters of public.
So this video is 29 minutes. I want to encourage you guys. This is Audit the Audit. It's an amazing channel. It's called Good Cop Stands Up to Corrupt Security Guard. I dropped the link into the chat bar. I encourage you guys to definitely check him out, like and subscribe. And I've got another one I want to share with you from the same channel. And you know, it's getting kind of late. So this is another one that's really good, though. This has to do, well, just watch and you'll see.
In a YouTube video posted on January 15th, 2020, Auditor DJ Gear began to film the Odell Oil Company in Belton, South Carolina, while walking around a grass shoulder located just outside the property. While Mr. Gear did not step onto the oil company's property, he filmed through a chain link fence, despite no trespassing signs that prohibited photographing and otherwise recording the facility. After Mr. Gear filmed for a few minutes, two individuals stepped out of an oil company building, walked over to the fence, and began to speak to Mr. Gear.
The whole facility? Well, both of them, really. Get some information on them. I'm sorry, brother. I can't hear you. What kind of information you need? A whole lot of information, honestly. A whole lot of it. We need to know what you're looking for. Say what? We can't just give out our information. Oh, no. I didn't have any questions about it towards y'all. I can kind of find out what I need out this way. Who are you? I'm an operator.
Yeah, Kinetic I have. Chevy's awesome, man.
I understand that. Have your name? Okay, I was just asking.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna have to.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. inside the fence is.
Yeah, what you need pictures for?
You said what I need pictures for? Well, I can't say it right now because it's not published. But you can call the people. That's fine.
So guys, so they're upset that he's filming through the fence, right? Have you guys ever heard of Google Earth? Like all the stuff is being filmed by satellites and it's all available anyways. And the ground footage that Google has. I mean, it just amazes me, like the IQ levels of some people in this country. That's why I'm an advocate of homeschooling. So you can teach your kids critical thinking and not the brainwashing and the retardation that I believe is being espoused by most of the public schools in this country, the dumbing down of the citizenry to make them easier to control. I think AgeGo agrees with me. And then, of course, Kinetic Customs says, well, hold on a minute. I can't say that. Blue something Supu. And then Jeff says, freedom is scary. Deal with it. And the Kinetic Customs says, hey, Michael, have you seen Chevy songs with you in them? And I have. And I really like Chevy a lot. And I think Chevy's name is Chevy because he's into Chevys. And that's why I always talk about 350 Chevys and Novas and stuff with Chevy. Because I'm a Chevy man because I grew up building Chevy motors with my pops. But anyways, let's get into the next one because we don't have a whole lot of time. I spent almost 3 hours with y'all. Hopefully you like what you've seen so far. Let's get into the next one here. This is an example of law enforcement officers are getting fed up around the world with enforcing these jackboot thug policies, right? And we're seeing it happen everywhere. And of course, the press will try to powder coat it and say it's for another reason, but we know the real reason because they have friends and family members and the 6 degrees of separation. Look, man, these laws are targeting their family members too. These unjust laws like wearing a mask and all this other garbage.
With concerning revelations of a revolt in the ranks of New South Wales Police. 9 News understands hundreds of officers from Sydney's southwest are at breaking point and refusing to carry out certain duties. They say staff shortages are compromising the safety of our state and are demanding action from the Commissioner.
The thin blue line is getting even thinner. There are fewer joining the force and many more walking away.
There are already a significant amount of officers down at the moment, over 2,500 officers.
And now officers from 7 Sydney police stations have had enough, hundreds of them taking a stand by refusing certain duties.
Once upon a time, we were the 24/7 problem solver, and we're not anymore.
Cops from Auburn, Bankstown, Burwood, Campbelltown, Camden, Cumberland and Fairfield have said no to a long list of non-critical jobs. They include religious operations like the pro-Palestinian rallies, bail compliance checks with the exception of high-risk DV offenders, stationary RBTs, prisoner transfers, security for transporting mental health patients between hospitals, truancy checks for schools, parking and animal complaints, like a recent call to capture a blue-tongue lizard in a shopping centre. The statewide staffing shortage so dire that 9 News has learned an officer from Penrith was forced to work on a day off to cover last weekend's CBD protest. The angst amongst rank and file made clear in a leaked document from a recent union meeting in Camden. We are not mental health professionals, paramedics, teachers or social workers. The approach is unsustainable, paired with excessive scrutiny and unrealistic expectations imposed by the Commissioner's executive team. Officers are pushed to breaking point. The vision for a safer New South Wales is compromised.
At the end of the day, the Commissioner and her executive team need to make these changes.
Tiffany Genders, 9 News.
Tiffany Genders joins me now in the studio. So, Tiff, could more stations follow suit?
Well, Georgie, it is gathering steam with a letter from the union going out to the 16,000 members of the force this afternoon. On top of the 7 stations already involved, it looks like Campsie, Liverpool, Cessnock and Maitland will also join the revolt. Now, this is one step short of industrial action, but a bold statement to the Commissioner that things need to change.
So here's what's going on, guys. I just want to share this with you. So the locals, the citizens are getting fed up with their populations being replaced with illegals. And it's happening all over the world. The World Economic Forum is really behind this. They're pushing to replace everybody, according to many. And, especially like, what do they call it? Sub-Saharan African countries where inbreeding is very common. And the typical IQ of someone from Sub-Saharan Africa is 60 and below. So from what I've heard from insiders and whistleblowers is that what they're trying to do is replace the local populations of critical thinkers with basically people who are incapable of critical thought. And so what better way to do that than with inbreds and people that, because you can get their vote if you give them free stuff. And so that's what I'm hearing. I don't know if it's true, so don't accuse me of misinformation, but it's plausible. As a lawyer, it certainly makes sense. And so the law enforcement officials are furious because they're seeing that their countrymen are being replaced, thin blue line or not. So what's the solution? What's the solution? What do you think the solution is for the politicians? Rather than address the concerns of the citizenry, what do you think the solution is? Well, let's see what California's solution is.
Here comes some new state laws, and tonight we're taking a closer look at Senate Bill 960. This law took effect at the start of the year, changing the qualifications to become a police officer here in California. Now, anyone who can legally work in the state under federal law can become a police officer, regardless of citizenship. Tonight, we clear up some misconceptions.
They're replacing the police with illegals who don't even know about our Constitution or our way of life.
The San Diego Police Officers Association about their concerns.
Right now, the San Diego Police Department has lost over 500 officers
I wonder
since
why.
July of 2020. That's drastic. We need everyone we can to be able to be a police officer. However, we are not in favor of reducing the requirements and lowering the standards.
Sergeant Jared Wilson, speaking as president and on behalf of the San Diego Police Officers Association, says they do have concerns about the new California law that changed the qualifications to become a police officer in the state. Prior to January 1st of this year, you had to be a United States citizen or permanent resident to qualify for the job. Now, that's no longer the case. Anyone who is legally authorized to work in the state of California with the proper green card or visa is now eligible to become a police officer, thanks to Senate Bill 960, authored by State Senator Nancy Skinner.
When you look at California's rules, almost every other profession, lawyers, doctors, are able to be part of that profession as long as they have full federal legal work authorization.
Illegal aliens on temporary protective status. We don't even know their background, and we're letting them become law enforcement officers. The race to the bottom, guys, the great replacement of our population right there on full display. Now, before I close out the show, this is really important. I want you to see another issue that comes up with these city council meetings. You'll see, especially in like some of these minority communities, that family members will come in as extra security for these mayors and these corrupt city councilmen to try and silence anyone who disagrees with them or goes against their rulership over the populace, right? Just thuggish behavior. And so I want to show you an example where we would have, hold on one second. So I'm trying to text somebody and talk to you guys at the same time. So basically, under the state actor theory, under the civil rights laws, if you've got these corrupt mayors and politicians bringing in muscle to try and prevent people from speaking, they can be sued under the state actor theory. So even the family members can be sued. So I just want to show you this video really quick to give you an idea of what's going on in some of these corrupt minority communities.
Get there. Stop provoking. Please, sir. Stop provoking, sir. Please, sir. Stop provoking. Just leave us alone. I'm being attacked. I'm being attacked. Take my hands off. Please stop provoking. 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 Please stop provoking.
That's an assault and battery, by the way.
I'm walking down the street and being attacked. You see this?
Somebody call the police. These guys are attacking Seneca.
Someone call the police.
So they're family members of a mayor, and this guy's out doing a signature drive trying to get the mayor recalled, apparently. And so these guys are literally battering and attacking him and pretending like he's provoking them. So it's just crazy, man. It's just absolutely insane. I have so many more videos I wanted to share with you guys, but I do have to get some work done, man. I've got a new client that we signed up, and I got to handle some business guys. But I want to thank you guys again for supporting my show. And if you could afford it, $19.99 to get a digital version of my ebook, My Journey to Becoming a Practicing Lawyer with No Law Degree or Undergrad. And in that book, I talk about the California State Bar Law Office Study Program and other programs in other states where people who are underprivileged, maybe minorities that don't have a lot of money, single moms who want to become lawyers, to give you an opportunity to understand how I did it and how you could do it too. Because it doesn't matter how smart you are, as far as I'm concerned. What matters is if you're dedicated. So if you're a dedicated individual and you believe that you were called to a higher calling to help other people, I can't think of a better way than to be a lawyer. I've done many, many cases pro bono when I had money, when I was making real money. And it was the most rewarding experience of my life. And I definitely want to encourage and invite all of you guys, if you feel called to become a lawyer and you just don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, or you don't believe in the Marxist run education system, for you to try and get involved in a law study program like what I was involved in, to try to help you become a better person. Now, Steve Conkler, the best way to get a hold of me is to go to the michaelehline.com website and fill out the contact form, or reach out to Rami or BZ Watchdog or Brick Jonesy, or you could reach out to Chili over at Delete Laws. And by the way, make sure to subscribe to Chili and to the Delete Laws channel and their channels as well. They're my friends, and we need to support anybody who wants to hold the government accountable. That's my highest calling in life, is government accountability operations. And I really thank all of you guys for supporting my channel. It really means a lot to me. The last few shows I've done haven't gotten a lot of love from the algorithm, and we know why. And we know that ever since I got suspended for talking about Assange and other things, they've been throttling my traffic big time. It's like communist China. So I really need you guys to make sure to check out my shorts, because a lot of people are complaining that they can't like or comment on my short videos. So please check out my short videos and love them and like them and share them. And all of my live videos, make sure to press the save button, because that helps me get algorithmic love. And then listen to them when you're driving your car, because some of them are 2 and 3 hours. Listening to them on the airplane, do whatever you got to do, but get involved and get involved in your local community. Of course, you guys know I'm a libertarian, so I don't really I'm not into supporting political parties. I'm into supporting issues and the man. And so support people who know the law and mean to keep it well. Read Blackstone's commentaries on the English law. Get a copy of my ebook, not the soft cover that I have here, but my ebook. Go to my YouTube channel. It's $19.99. Do it as friends or family if you trust me, so I don't have to pay the extra fee. And make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And with that being said, Semper Fi, do or die.